Okay, today is February 22nd, 2026, and I'm doing podcast episode 4. So, I ran into this guy on Twitter. I don't know anything about him. His tag is Boon, and oh, there he is. He's hopping right in.
There he is.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, dude?
There we go. Podcast episode 4 underway. I was just doing a little intro right as you hopped in here. Let me just
Awesome.
triple check I got all the audio going. I am recording. All right. Yeah. Welcome. Hi.
Welcome. Hello.
I was just explaining how we had a Twitter interaction like a
We
week
did under Moki's tweet. Yes.
Okay, Moki's tweet. I was trying to find it
Yeah.
like 30 minutes ago, and there's like a million notifications, so I couldn't figure out where we first interacted. But
Yeah. It was just a Moki tweet, and he was talking about Melee's dying, blah blah blah, and we'll be back stronger. We cherish traveling,
yeah,
whatever bullshit, right? Um, but you're under the impression that Moki is in the position to make a meaningful difference, which I kind of want you to go more in depth on what you think that would be.
sure, yeah, absolutely. Should we just start right off with that? You want to do like who are you
Um,
kind of intro thing? And
Sure, sure. I
yeah,
mean, we can get into it. Sorry, I was a little bit ahead of myself, but
that's all right. That's all right.
my name is Buno. Go by
Buna.
Boon for everybody else. Okay, I been online for a long time. Um,
Cool.
been to locals, played Ultimate, was an Ultimate baby for a long time, like through COVID. Hated Melee. Didn't want to fucking like. I love watching it, right? Like
Yeah.
Melee was awesome to watch, but like actually sitting there playing it, getting tortured, and learning that, like that to me seemed like an awful thing to do. But then my friends started to get into Melee, and I started getting into it too, and now we're here. So it's been a year and a half since I've like actually
Oh wow.
been playing Melee like full time. Like I've pretty much completely stopped playing Ultimate from that.
Okay. Year and a half.
But
Ganondorf.
before that, I mean, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that on your Twitter.
Well,
That's a
so
tough
yeah,
choice.
that's like my soul main, and on Melee he's great. Like I love him on Melee too. I
Yeah.
mean, Ultimate, like I kind of like playing Ganon because on Ultimate, like I can pretty much play like all the characters. They're not really super technical or anything like that, unless you're
Yeah.
like a Ness Labber and you're doing like one frame punishes and stuff like that. But no, I just really like playing Ganon. I thought it was cool. A lot of people apparently didn't know the matchup, so that was something I took advantage of, and
Yeah.
he was just really fun for me to play. So why not? And it ended up getting me some wins in my locals, and I thought it was really cool. So
Nice. Yeah, that's a tough character to start with. So he's
yeah, I
probably
didn't I didn't I didn't start with Ganon. I did not start with Ganon.
okay.
Let's make that perfectly clear. I played all the other characters before
Sure.
I was like, Ganon, like you get a couple hits, you get a kill. Like fuck it. I
All
can
right.
do a couple reads. I can, I'm a scrambler. I like to think I don't have like a sorted out game plan. It's more like a workflow and a flow state. And like once I understand like how you want to use your defensive options, how you like to tech and stuff like that, like I can easily just get in
Hell yeah.
knowing how you're going to react to stuff. But that's just how I like to play.
Yeah, Ganon's always basically 3 or 4 hits away from a KO. Pretty nice.
And sort of
So,
and sort of challenging people's ideas, right? Because
yeah.
in Ultimate, he is quote unquote comparatively to everybody else the worst character in Ultimate.
Is he?
So
Okay.
yeah, like he
I
he's
didn't.
he's
Yeah.
like he used to be on the same tier as Little Mac. It was like Little Mac was above Ganon like that on the same tier, but now it's like a whole separate tier. It's like Little Mac's here and now Ganon's here.
Yeah, poor Ganondorf.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
man, sucks being the king of evil, dude.
yeah. Yeah, with Ultimate, it's easier to pick up other characters. Like with Melee, it's much harder, I think, in my
And you can
opinion.
do your button remaps. Dude,
Yeah.
man, I was abusing the shit out of that on the Pro Controller. I was using the left bumper as an extra jump. I mean, fuck it. I mean, it
Damn.
was it was
Nope.
easier. It was the Ultimate has built-in short hopping. If I do Y with the left bumper, I get a short hop every single time. Like, stuff like that. You got to abuse especially when you're using the worst character. You
Yeah.
got to abuse like everything you got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder how the debates are in the old scene for that. I'm sure you've seen the
I
Z
mean,
jump.
it's all yeah. I trust me. I understand Melee is an old game. Okay, I respect the culture of the game. Like came out 2001. Everybody's on an OEM stock controller, and the one guy to really like stay true to his roots and kick ass was Armada. Like that was the number one, right? With Peach. I
Yeah.
mean, fuck. I mean, it's still Peach, but I mean, when he played it, it was awesome, right? Like
Yeah.
he didn't have to use a fob or a box or anything like that. He stuck to the OEMs, and like I'm okay with that. But taking care of an OEM and like after a couple months, like like the metal odometer just isn't
Hmm.
aligned anymore, and you're not getting the same stuff, especially on a technical character like Falco and Fox and stuff like that. I can see how that is just not really viable for people who a don't have a lot of money, or two they're not that invested to where they're buying the try screwdriver to open their tamper proof GameCube controller from Nintendo, right? Like,
I was gonna
so
say that.
I get it. I don't mind it too much. I come from a world where people remap stuff. I mean, you can even go to older games that aren't Melee, like Counter Strike and stuff like that. We've always had remaps and rebinds. I mean, using spacebar to shoot, because your left mouse button just isn't like as good, or it's more comfortable to do it that way. I'm all for it. I think it's fine. Other people, especially the old heads, they get obviously uppity about it. They're like, oh
Yeah.
well, if you use Z jump, you're playing in a league of your own. You're not playing on the same level playing field as everybody else, and whatever,
This kind of
you
gets
know.
us right into the subject of the overall podcast series, really, because it's a debate in the Melee scene. And you can
Yeah.
see the way that people debate Z jump and just like the nature of discourse in Melee. It's just like kind of Twitter based. It's kind of like, what did this top player say? And then people are, um, you can kind of see
Right,
it.
and I'm not a top player, so who gives a fuck about my
Yeah.
opinion, right? Like I'm just a guy who likes to play the game, like
That's the other thing. It's like, who gets to make the decisions in the scene?
the
It's
strong.
it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of this weird meritocracy where it's like if you're a top 10 player, your opinion like matters more, kind of, in most cases, or if you're like an
I mean,
influencer.
at some level, especially if you're a top player, you gotta respect it. I mean, these
Yeah.
people give their lives to play this shit, right? I mean,
So
you
that
take
kind
that
of
away from them, it's like, oh, I'm suicidal, fuck.
Yeah, and that kind of gets us right to the Moki thing. So Moki's a top 10
Yeah.
player. I don't know what his rank was
Yes.
in 2025,
He,
but
and he's a respected Fox player, of course. I mean,
yeah.
like just the general public, like there's not really any drama with Moki.
Yeah, that we know of, not yet. He hasn't said
I
anything too controversial. So,
I mean, not yet, not
yeah.
yet. I mean, hey man, we're in the content world. It could happen tomorrow. Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
And so
but
then
as of right now, he's not
yeah.
right.
And this gets pretty much precisely at my whole issue with the scene. This has been my banner I've been waving for about 5 years now. Yeah, like the tweet that got us talking was Moki said something. Uh, I don't remember what he said, but then I said, "Hey, you can make a difference," and I
Yeah,
think
you
you can.
said
Yeah,
so
yeah,
Moki, like I said, Moki was talking about the
yeah.
melee is dying talk lately has made me reflect on how fortunate I am to play this game full time. Goal
Yes.
this year is to share is traveling, playing in front of crowds while I sit on my ass gaming because it's privilege that I'm grateful for.
Okay.
How do you feel about it being a privilege
Melee being a privilege.
and being able to compete with other players in person? Yeah.
I think Melee is a human right. You probably saw that on my Twitter somewhere. So,
No, I mean I saw it in your other podcasts. I did
okay.
watch them. Just the ones with people in them. Let me be clear.
Yeah, you
That's
didn't
why I
watch my
wanted you. That's why
100 hours.
that's why I wanted you to link me. I'm like, if there's anything relevant to what we were talking about earlier, I'm more than down to watch it. But I was really more
Yeah.
interested in watching the other people who, quote unquote, had like they were on the other side of your opinion, right? And just
Yeah.
wanted to
So
see like how that goes.
it gets into this tricky area, which I'm not oblivious. I'm not like completely how do I put this? Private events are something that people can control. I'm not saying like you get into this weird like bake the cake. You like, the gay cake argument.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
they what is it? There was a cake shop that didn't want to bake a
Yeah.
gay birthday cake or whatever,
So,
and they got a lot of flack for it. They got like, for discrimination or whatever, which
yeah.
you know you replace that group with any other group, like if it was a black couple or a
Yeah.
Chinese or Mexican couple or whoever, or even if they're gay but they're both white, like it is what it is. It's just
So,
discrimination, right? Like
yeah,
it,
just
and people have the right. I think they should have the right, if it's a private owned business, to like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't want to serve drinks to you, I don't want to bake you a cake. It's the same thing.
So I agree with that. And then this is where I have to try and distinguish that from a melee event. Because a melee event it is technically a private, it's similar to a cake shop in the fact that it's like it'll be at a private brewery or a bar or a restaurant or a pizza shop, card shop.
Yeah, it's what they call grassroots,
Yeah.
right? Like, meaning,
But
like, people invite you
yeah.
into their living room to play games with them and their friends. That's
Okay.
that's kind of that's kind of where it's at, right? There's no
But
official.
let me throw my butt in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Overall, when I say melee is a human right, I don't mean you have a right to play a video game. What I mean is that you, as a human being, have a right to socialize. If there's a community, you have a right to be in a community, right? In a community. That doesn't mean the community can't kick you out, right?
Right.
I'm not making an absurd statement here, but what I am saying is that people's rights are being stripped. We have a right to assemble. Like I have a right to hang out with my friends, right? Melee
Sure.
melee community is where a lot of us make a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends in the scene that I am now personally restricted from hanging out with. And I see,
At the event, right? Not
yes,
like, I mean,
at
if they're
events.
your friend, you can go to Discord. You guys can meet up,
Yeah.
go somewhere else, do whatever, right? But it's at this specific event where that TO is like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're a toxic piece of shit. We don't want you here.
Well, and then so what's actually what is actually happening is kind of the question that needs to be discussed. Is the community deciding to kick you out? Or is there a small minority of vocal activists who are forcing the community to kick you out? And so the way I see it is there's a small, I would say 10 to 15% of people in the melee scene are claiming to be the community and speak for the community, and the 80% is just bullied into silence. Because my personal experience, and I know this goes for a lot of other people that are banned, is that I'll talk to people one-on-one, face-to-face, and they'll say, dude, I have no problem with you. You're cool. We have no issues, but you're banned. I can't do anything about that. So, basically nobody has an issue with me except for a small percentage of people. And I think that goes for almost everybody. Like, if you look at Hax's situation, I always have to talk about Hax. I think like 98% of the scene wanted Hax unbanned. The vast majority of the scene wanted him unbanned. And that didn't happen because the scene is not controlled by the community. Like, the majority, the community, the actual thing we refer to in the melee scene doesn't control the melee scene. It's a cabal. I mean, and it is a
It's
leftist
basically the
cabal.
TOs that are controlling it, is what you're
But
saying, right?
the thing is it's not even the TOs. Like, so I wrote about this on Twitter. I've talked about this in other videos, but I was going to an event in Orange County for a year in 2024, and that TO had no problem with me at all. We were cool. Like, we met. He didn't know who I was before I went to his event. I was going to it, and then it wasn't until a couple weeks in that somebody's like, "Hey, Matt's transphobic. You have to ban him." And then he talked to me, and he's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "What is this?" And I go like, "You won't even believe, right?" And then we had this weird back and forth, and basically they twisted his arm and forced him to ban me. They threatened him, right? And he's a TO, and it is his decision. It is in the end his decision, but they basically forced him. They threatened him with the same stuff they threaten all the
Yeah,
TOs with.
they threaten to leave the event,
Yeah,
never to come back, or they'll protest, right? I'm sure. I
yeah,
mean, me personally, I've never been there to, like, really, like,
yeah,
see or deal with that, because all the trans people who go to my local, like, it's all sunshine and fucking rainbows. Like, nobody gets into like heated discussions or arguments about their gender, it never pops up. Like
Yeah,
everybody's pretty much kind of respectful, and that was going on for like 3 4 years. You know what I mean? Playing Ultimate, it was at least like that for me.
that's how it was for
But
me too. I was
yeah.
playing Super Smash Bros. With trans people for a year. I mean, I have been from the beginning. I've never had an issue in real life with a trans person ever.
So you've never had a confrontation. You've never, even after the event, talked to these people. No, nothing. It's always
Not.
just been I show up, I play the game, I have a good time, we talk shit about the game,
Mhm.
and then we go home. Right?
Yes, yes. The only real life confrontations that I've had have been with, I don't want to use the word, but cis white men is really the
That's
only
us.
people that
That's
have,
us, right?
yeah, those are the only people that have ever in real life said anything to me. And they're speaking on behalf of trans people. And I don't believe that at all. The way that I see it is they're just using this new tool to get to bully other people. I'm a person that they can control. They can say, "Hey, you're not saying pronouns. Don't you care about trans people?" Blah blah blah. Right? And then they can hit me in the head with it, and it's like an unblockable attack because they hit you with transphobe, and I go with, So then they kick me out.
Well, aren't you kind of wanting that label when you make statements like trans women aren't women, and that you'll die on that hill and you'll never call a trans woman a woman ever, that you'll have to kill me to get me to say that? Like, don't you think these things are a little tied to that
Yeah.
label, a little extreme? I understand that you're just trying to provoke them to get a conversation, right?
What
I'm
I am
sure.
trying to do is protest the structure that dominates Melee. And this gets back to the Moki thing. People are complaining
Okay.
about Melee dying, and my belief is that it's dying due to poor leadership. Who leads the Melee scene? It's not Melee players. It's not people who care about Melee. It's a radical leftist political ideology that tyrannizes the scene. It doesn't care about Melee. There's a
So
system of ideas that controls the scene, and Melee is not at the peak of that system of ideas. It's not at the top of the hierarchy.
if that is the case, if what you're saying is 100% true,
Sure.
that it's just these like 10 people, let's just say it's 10
Well,
people that are
probably
controlling the
hundreds, but
entire.
yeah.
Yeah, right. And who are these hundreds? Are they TOs? Are they players? Do they even play the game? Do they even do events? Are these the 100 people you're talking about? Like, who are we actually referring to here?
I don't know who they are. And it's the funny thing
You
is
don't
that
no names, no nothing.
the
Like
funny
that's just
this
it.
is where it gets tricky because it's not a this is like with any conspiracy theory, right? It's not so much that there's like a secret cabal of people having meetings, right? But there is an alignment of incentives, right? The way that I see it is it's a system of ideas. There's an alignment of incentives. It's not clear who's in the cabal and who's not in it. People kind of support it. Like at different times, the cabal is the whole scene, or it's a smaller piece of it. There's like, should this player be banned? And then suddenly 10,000 people on Twitter say yes. And so in that moment, the system of ideas it's like an egregore. It controls 10,000 people. And then in other issues, it'll like shrink and be smaller. I don't know if this like, I need to,
I,
how
I
do
I
I, how
can
do
I
I
can see I
articulate
can
this
see
better?
where you're coming from. I can see where you're coming
Oh
from.
yeah.
Like it's people's like public opinion on Twitter, and they think that they're doing the right thing by doing this, right?
Yes.
But like let's just sort of rewind a little bit just to sort of get the perspective of them, right? Like the people who aren't, I guess, in the cabal. They're just the people who are wanting to play, right? Like
Yeah.
especially back then, like 2005, 2010, and even I mean, even though it's more mainstream now, it's still like we're the outcasts. Like we are the people who don't really fit in per se with the jocks and the popular women and whatever. We took an interest in playing video games with our friends who also are considered outcasts, right? Like we have our own group and we play video games together. The last thing that we want when we're together having a good time is having somebody come in and sort of like ruin the vibe per se. I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's the new age word of it, but really it was just to disrupt
Yeah.
the peace. Like we don't want to hang out with a bully who is just a piece of shit all the time. That's just not how we jam, and that's just our friend group. And those little friend groups sort of, they find other friend groups that are aligned with their beliefs, and then it becomes this bigger thing, right? And they want to sort of protect that in a way, right? They don't. like I said, that's why it's grassroots. They kind of just want to protect who they let in and be around them in a way, because this is their escape, right? This is our escape as gamers, as outcast. This is our spot. Okay, we make the rules per se. That's everybody in the community. That's right. Like we
Okay.
make the rules.
And so the
But
current rules are very unfair.
oh, the current rules are fucked. I mean, it's grown into this thing where people are making melee like a money grabbing thing. They want to become popular. They want to do all these things that like the outcast back then didn't give a fuck about. We weren't trying to monetize melee. We were just trying to play the game, right? Like back then for me, it wasn't melee per se, but like you know,
Well, if you're okay, this is the funny thing though. If you're talking about people money grabbing, right? Maybe that's why we're all trans, why we're all woke, right? Is because we're trying to align with sponsor, like what sponsors want, right? If
and
that's the
being advertising friendly and
Yeah,
blah blah
if that's
blah.
the case, why is Melee dying? Why are sponsors leaving? Why are viewers dropping? Why are tournament attendance like dropping, right? Like we were on the up and up from 2015 to 2020. There's like a clear trend of like new sponsors. It even goes into 2021. And then we got that Smash World Tour thing for like a second. Like Melee was on the rise and then it crashed for some reason.
Well, what did I mean? Do we even know why Nintendo pulled out of the community completely? Like they're not the ones that host events anymore. They're not the ones in control of who's
Yeah.
banned and who's not, right?
Nope.
Why did Nintendo pull out? If you want to ask why sponsors pulled out, why did Nintendo themselves pull out? More sponsors would be there if the official license of the game was there, right? Like if Nintendo was backing this effort to keep playing Melee instead of their brand new Smash Ultimate, which I'm not even sure if Nintendo sponsors Ultimate events anymore.
I I mean, I don't blame Nintendo. I don't really care about Nintendo. I don't think they can stop us. I mean, they can sue us or whatever. I don't think
I mean,
Nintendo is.
ultimately, it's their IP, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if they
but
really wanted to, they could, right?
I don't blame Nintendo for why Melee is dying. That's not how I see it. So I think the scene has
Well,
bad
how
leadership.
do you so you as a TO, I've
Sure.
never officially TO'd for like a grand cash prize. All of our locals, it's always been like, okay, we'll pay your bar tab if you come in first place. Like
Yeah.
it's not really anything super crazy. So we got away with not having a license hosting the event. But what do you have to go through to get a license to monetize and stream your events? Like legally, I guess.
I didn't do any of that. I just streamed. I mean, yeah. I know that there's
Yeah,
a
I mean, you're lucky Nintendo didn't come after you then, I guess, right?
yeah,
Because
it was
don't
I
you need
mean
a license to do all that stuff?
it was a tiny event. Well,
Isn't that a bigger problem? Is the licensing and making sure it's legal and you don't get butt fucked by Nintendo or whoever is trying to cancel you?
that is a big problem. I know what you're saying, but to me that's not like the issue I'm focused on. I think that if the
No,
scene had better leadership, getting a license would be easier. Part of the reason Nintendo pulls out, probably if I had to guess, is that they look at the melee scene and they just see something they don't want to be associated with at all. I mean,
they
we're
look at Twitter and they freak the fuck out,
yeah.
dude.
I mean, yeah. Imagine being like a Japanese business like investor in because Nintendo's over a century old. So like their boardroom's got to be like 80-year-old Japanese guys, and they're looking at Twitter and being like, "What the
And their
fuck?"
sons that they've indoctrinated into
Yeah,
becoming the next heir, you know
yeah,
what I mean? To keep the legacy going. I mean
yeah.
that's pretty much what Gaben's doing too. He's having one of his kids be the next head of Valve so that when it goes if it goes public or whatever, it doesn't get completely fucked. You know what I mean?
So
Like people love
yeah,
Steam, you know.
the way that I see it is, if the melee scene had proper leadership, we could actually earn a more respectable reputation, and maybe Nintendo would be okay with working with us. We have to distance ourselves from some of this the vibes that we have created in the past few years here. So, and I believe that comes from better leadership.
I mean that too, but like it's also partially us. I mean, we're the ones that are getting into arguments. We're the ones saying slurs to each other on Twitter. I mean, we're the ones that are
Yeah.
making big controversial statements like trans women aren't women and other shit like that. And this isn't just to blame you and like that's not really what it's about, but like it's sort of the people who are behind that rhetoric, the people who are saying, "Oh, these troons need to get out of our game" and shit like that. And it's not like community centered anymore. I feel it's more like, okay, well, you fuckers want to believe in this over there, we're gonna go over here, and now we're seeing a bigger split, right? And
Okay.
especially now, since you're saying that it's a vocal minority, we're gonna split away from that minority and just go do our own
No,
thing.
so that's not the goal. I can tell you my goal. I can't speak for everybody. So you've seen the alt scene. You're familiar with like Mandalord, Max Zion, all
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah,
guys,
yeah.
right? Okay. I can't speak for them. All right. I can't speak for everybody here. But my goal as you know, is to run an event in Southern California and nobody is banned. Trans
Yeah.
people are invited. I genuinely want transgender people to attend the events. I have no plans at all of excluding anybody, and I
Can I
never
ask you
did
why?
because I want everybody to play Melee. I think Melee is a human right, and I would never exclude anybody if they're a communist or if they're trans or if they're a Nazi. I don't care what
So
your political beliefs are
why would you go out of your way to invalidate them then? That's the
because,
part that like it's sort of like contradictory. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
because I don't agree with the leadership. This is my protesting with the leadership. I did this intentionally. I don't think. Basically, I think I have the right to say that trans women aren't women and still play Melee, and I'm going to keep saying it until my right is restored. The second, and
I,
you can see that I've said
we,
this on
we
Twitter.
get that. We get that, but you got to understand that like, they these things have consequences. You can say whatever the fuck you want, sure, but like if you want these people to be comfortable and to accept you as their TO, that like they feel respected and comfortable around you to be at your event, yeah, like you kind of can't be, I don't know, and validating them completely and just being like, yeah, like I won't see you. Or what if it was flipped onto you? Like, what if that was flipped? Oh yeah, I don't think faggots who play Falco are real men. Like, show me your man card. What have you done as a man?
I
You
wouldn't
know what I
ban
mean?
them
Like,
for
what
that.
is a man? What is a man? You know?
You can say anything you want about me. I won't ban you. That's the
No,
rule.
but like answer the question. Like, what is a man?
Are we talking about this right now? I mean, we can.
Okay, I mean we
Yeah.
can go back,
I mean,
but
it's the
like,
same question
you
as what
know,
is a woman. It's like the same concept,
yeah.
right? So,
It's just so nebulous. It's like, why are we dying on this hill? I understand you want to go against the ideology, but
yes.
it feels more like peer to peer than it is to challenge the leadership. You're more invalidating the peer than you are the leadership.
No. Okay. So, there's a system of ideas that took over the Melee scene. We can label it a bunch of different things. But back in 2020, 2020,
Like prime
2021,
COVID, right?
yeah, basically, I could see that bans were happening. I saw Hax's situation. I see everything happening in the Melee scene. I see everything happening with COVID, the whole world. I'm living in Los Angeles at the time. I'm like, what is this system of ideas? Like, what is this thing that I see here? And we can call it a bunch of different things, but what I identified as a core statement was that trans women are women. That's a core tenet of this belief system, right?
Like one of many, right?
No,
This is just one of
I think it
many
is.
that they believe in, right?
I think it's the core one. I think there's no statement more central to the system than that statement. So I decided to vocally speak the opposite of that in order to contradict that ideology because I don't think the ideology is producing anything good. I think that it's part of what drove society insane during COVID, and it's also part of what's killing Melee. I don't like the ideology. I don't like the flag. I don't like anything that it's associated with. I, you know, and so I just decided to say the one statement that I believe to be true. I don't think that a male who identifies as a woman is a woman. And I decided to say this to contradict the ideology. It's a carefully chosen phrase. So, and it really
Right,
hasn't.
but like you truly believe that. This isn't just to like get,
Yeah,
the hornet's nest buzzing. This is like, I firmly believe this.
I think that
I really think that trans women are not women. I think a trans man's not a man.
I think that you agree with that. I think that most of the planet agrees with that. So,
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. To me, in my perspective, if you want to be called a man or if you want to be called a woman and you're more or less woman or man presenting respectfully, right? Like in their respective role, like I don't really see a problem with that. Common ground I would probably have with you is the neo pronouns. So like Zer, Zim. Me personally, it's too much. it's more performative than it is identifying. You know what I mean? Especially when we're talking about gender and sex. Like, it's cool if you want to be neither. You want to be non-binary. That's fine. Like, I've had plenty of non-binary friends. I get it. The majority, I guess, of people just can't seem to use the word they or whatever, or they just call them a he by just, or you just say hey guys, and they get triggered by the word guys because it's like male, like, and that's all like person to person to person. It's not everybody is just like a robot who acts the exact same or whatever. Some people might subscribe to that ideology, but it's I don't put everybody like in a blanket. Like, it is what it is. Like, especially if I'm going to be sitting there right next to you in person, I'm not gonna, and we're just trying to play the game. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, yeah, you're not a woman, bro. Like, clearly not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't do that
And
either. I mean, for the record, it's not
no,
like I'm going
I
around
know.
saying that.
I asked you this. I asked you this earlier, and you
Yeah.
said you don't do that. You said you show up, you play the game, you talk shit about the game, right? Which is totally normal. That's
Yeah.
stuff that we should always do, right? And then we go home and that's it. Like, it's the end of it. But then you show up to the next event or whatever, and then somebody brings up your Twitter, being like, "Hey, this Matt guy is a fucking transphobe. Look at his Twitter." Blah blah blah. Like, and I don't know. I don't. I haven't been there to see it, but I'm sure they go up to you and they ask you, like, "Hey, do you really believe in these things? Do you actually think trans women aren't women?" Blah blah blah, and they try to grill you for it. And then when you get into the discussion with them, that's when they're like, "Okay, you're fucking out, buddy. Like, we can't be having people like that. Like the main example, right? Being like, oh yeah, I don't think people who play Falco are real men. I don't think men who do that, right? Like, imagine like somebody waited for you outside the venue and then they beat the fuck out of you for playing Falco. Let's just say, right? Do you think the next time you go to an event and somebody says, "Oh, you know, I think you're a faggot for playing Falco," you're gonna feel like safe or comfortable or anything because you've
Yeah,
had that
but
previous
you're talking
physical
about
experience?
you're talking about beating the fuck out of somebody. That's different than
I mean,
words.
trans people get beat up and killed all the time. I mean, and
Yeah,
there's
but I'm
such a
not doing that.
minority, it's crazy.
I'm not doing
No, I
that.
know you're not doing that. I just engage with a hypothetical, man. I know you're not doing that. I'm not saying that you're some fucking
Well,
crazy neo-Nazi
I
or
don't
whatever.
understand what you're
They
saying
might.
though.
They well, I'm just saying, like, just try to put yourself in their shoes in a way. Like, why they would not, like, why they would be so like trigger happy to get rid of somebody like that because it's sort of like a stepping stone.
I don't I
It's like
don't
a ice cube versus an iceberg, you know?
yeah, I don't believe any of that. Basically, I don't think that
I know you don't believe in any of that, but
yeah,
just
well, I don't buy this whole idea that by me saying trans women are not women is like stepping us closer to trans people getting beat up. I don't believe that that's true. So
I mean,
I think in fact you're doing more harm to trans people by going along with lies. So yeah.
how is it harming them just calling them what they want to be called? I don't understand that at all.
Well, I mean, have you seen what happens to some trans people? You know, have you seen what?
Yeah, they regret it. Some of them, they get their top or bottom
Yeah.
surgery. They feel a ghost limb and they get fucking suicidal because they want it back. But that's not every trans person, okay? That's just some of these trans people.
So
A lot of them probably don't have the therapy and, you know, under doctor's recommendation for these hormone treatments like they're supposed to. They
so
get illegal hormone transplants
yeah.
and like do all this shit. You know what I mean? Like,
So you're
it is what it is.
you know about like type 1, type 2 errors. Um,
Type 1, type 2 errors.
yeah, it's like a logic. I don't know what you would call it, like a scientific. There's a grid I could show you. A type 1 error is when you make a false positive, and then a type 2 error is when you make a false negative. So like if you take a test like for a sickness like COVID or something, if the test comes back positive but you don't have it, you've made a type 1 error. So basically, if I take a COVID test, the test says I have it, and then I decide not to go to an event because I think I have COVID, but then it turns out I don't, I've made a type 1 error, right? And that's a type of harm. And then if a type 2 error would be I take the test, it says I don't have it, but I actually do, that would be a type 2 error. So I've gone to an event and I've caused harm with a type 2 error. So these are both types of errors that can occur when we do decision making. This is like a way of breaking down
But
decision making.
in your type 1, the person who suffers, I guess, is just you for not
Sure.
being able to go
Yeah.
out and have fun with your friends.
Yeah.
The type 2 error is you might kill somebody.
Yeah. So the
Like
different the
like my own father almost died from
yeah.
COVID. Like he was one oxygen point away from being put on a ventilator, and he more than likely would have died
Yeah,
if that
it's
weren't the case.
part of the calculation is weighing the consequences of the two risks. So like in this case, I miss a party. Oh no, right? Or I kill everybody at the
Right,
party, right? Like those are my.
right,
I'd rather play it safe in that situation and just not go to the party. I can sacrifice one night of my happiness or whatever. But like, so then, like the way I think the place that this originally comes from is like the whole if you're like a tribal human, it's like, is there a tiger in the bush? You hear a rustle in the bush. Is that a tiger or is that just a bird? But there's a banana in the tree you want to go eat. So then your type 1 error would be like, okay, I ran away so I don't get the banana, so I'm kind of hungry. And then the type 2 is I go for the banana and then I get eaten by a tiger. So it's like the same kind of thing, right? Now it's the same thing with
right.
prawn.
You don't want to go into the you don't
Yeah.
want to be thinking about the cheese, forgetting about the trap. Right.
Yeah. And so
I can understand that.
there's an accumulation of type 1 errors will kill you because you won't eat, right? Because you'll just keep running away from the bushes. So like they are dangerous in accumulation. And so it's the same thing that I see with pronouns. I believe that this is a situation where we have type 1 and type 2 errors. So we can say that somebody is or is not trans, like genuinely, right? We know that people have identified as trans and then regretted it later, right? So I think you could say reasonably that person was not truly transgender, that they identified as trans, but they made a mistake, that they
Right.
realized a couple
They
years
had a
later.
gender dysphoria that was untreated, right?
Yes. Or
And they thought that they were this thing. They get the surgery done, and they end up regretting it, or
yeah,
whatever the case. There's a change in their psyche that
yeah,
makes it so it's like I really regret this decision, and I know there's no going back.
sure.
So I'm suicidal about it because I can't get back what I had.
Yeah, and even like a more basic one is there's this girl I know who, when she was, I don't know, a teen, like 17 or something, she identified as trans for a while, right? She was a boy for like a year, and then she went back.
Okay.
She didn't do any hormones or any of that stuff. She just had a phase, I guess you could call it, right? Forgive me
So
for
she
being
sort of right.
transphobic.
She larped, I guess, is what
Yeah, she
people would
said,
say.
"Oh, I'm a boy," and then a year later, she goes, "No, just kidding, I'm a girl again," right? And now she's an adult woman, and she's happy and she's fine. She didn't do any surgeries or hormones or anything, right? So the way that I see it is that it's not always the right thing to use pronouns. You could be making a type 1 error. You could be calling somebody pronouns that they shouldn't be called, right? The type 1 error, the consequence of this would be if I'm wrong, I'm misgendering somebody who really is the other gender. But if I'm right, what I'm doing is identifying them as the correct pronouns, even if they at the time do not believe that those are the correct pronouns. Does that make sense?
It does in a vacuum, but like
Sure.
your name is Matt,
Yeah.
and you could have that changed at any time legally.
Yeah.
So is it a type 1 error for me to call you Matt if later you don't identify as Matt anymore?
Well, in the case of a name, I would say that,
Or an identity?
well, the problem is,
You identify as the name Matt. I
yeah,
identify as the name Boon. I've chosen this username.
yeah.
I identify by this. This is who I am, right? Like there's no this isn't like an alt account or anything like that. Like this is me.
Well,
This is my digital footprint. Digitally immortalized forever, right?
this is where it gets into these weird, like, philosophical areas because it's like, okay, if I change my name to Steve next year, right? Am I
Yeah,
Steve?
was me calling you Matt a
Yeah.
type 1 error?
Am I Steve right now? If I change my name next year, or am I Matt right now, or am I Steve right now? Have I retroactively changed my name like backwards to all the way to the 90s when I was born, Like, or am I just now identifying as Steve in the future, right? And then so like
Yeah, like
one of the funny things about the trans argument is that some people will say, "Oh, she was always a woman. When she was born, she was a woman," right? That this 25-year-old male who now identifies as a woman was always a woman, right? But then, you just take that to like, it's funny because even the trans people will disagree about that kind of stuff. Even the people that are on that side disagree about that stuff. But this girl that I mentioned, right? She's a
yeah.
girl until she's 16, and then for the age 16 to 17, she's a boy, and now 17 to 28 or whatever, she is a girl again, right? So was she a boy during that year, or was she a girl that was just confused? And then you can kind of say either or, right? I would say she was a girl that was confused. She was asking for he, him pronouns, but she was a girl the whole time. And then so by me using her
Maybe,
pronoun,
maybe, or just a little curious. I mean, maybe
sure,
she wanted to try it out and see
yeah,
if she felt empowered being called a man.
sure,
That's how she wanted to feel, right? She just is experimenting, and that's okay. Like,
yeah. I don't
I
have an
don't, I
look.
don't, I don't see that as a type one error. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well,
People who want to be identified as a certain thing, especially in a social context, especially when we're signing these invisible social contracts to just be a fucking decent human next to someone, right? I get it that people have taken it to the meta by going to Twitter and being like, oh, here's this guy's true feelings about trans people. And it's obviously very provocative and they feel threatened by it, right? They feel threatened by like the idea that they can't be who they feel they are, you know?
but okay. I want to focus on this. I want to focus on this type one, type two error thing. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. So if I had said, okay, you're a boy, and I said, okay, you're he, him to the 16-and-a-half-year-old girl, right? And then she goes to get top surgery. I've now
Hmm.
committed an error. Like, that's an error. I've now contributed towards an error by using he, him.
But an error to who?
Well, to her and to me as a member of the community, we
Well,
have a woman
at the
who
at
has been injured.
injured. I thought you just said surgery.
Yeah, she's been injured. I would call it like a self-inflicted injury. I mean, it's a psychological self-inflicted injury. So, I mean, whatever you want to call it, it's a surgery.
I mean,
It was consensual.
would you count cutting yourself and getting trans surgery the same thing?
Yeah, basically, yeah, yeah, yeah. They're both caused by the same thing. I would say, generally, yeah.
Um, okay.
I mean,
Sure.
if you're an emotional person and you cut yourself, right? If you're I don't and if you're the type of person to cut yourself to do self harm, that's an error. I think we can say like morally that that's a bad thing, right? Self harm is
But this
bad.
but that but getting the surgery would be under that gender affirming care. I mean,
Yeah, but then if they
I
regret it, it counts as basically the same thing as self harm.
if we're throwing a lot of ifs in there, if they regret it, it's
Yeah, but
not
that's the point.
100% every trans person who goes through it is going to
Exactly.
hate themselves.
That's why I'm trying to split this between error groups here. Is that like let's say that she identifies as he him at the age of 16 and then she lives until she's 99 as he him and she's happy the whole time, right? And she cuts her tits off and it was a good decision. She takes the testosterone, lives a perfectly happy and comfortable life, right? That would be one outcome. And then I would have been wrong for saying he him at the age of 16. But then the other outcome is she cuts her tits off. She regrets it at 22. Then I've contributed to that. That's an error that I've now contributed to by using he, him. And I would regret it. Because what I should have done at the age of 16 and a half for her was say, are you sure you're a boy? We need to talk about this. Are you sure about this? You might regret this later. Right? And that would be morally the correct thing for me to do. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, but at the same time it's a part of this human experience, and if like they should be getting therapy. They should be talking to a professional
Yeah.
about these kinds of things, you know what I mean? Like even with normal other mental illnesses or disorders, because that's the thing that always like that's kind of the gripes I have, is that they say that trans people are just have a mental illness, when it's like no person on this fucking earth has a perfect brain, and everybody's got some kind of mental illness, whether it's ADHD, ADD, your OCD, your bipolar, whatever the fuck it is. Everybody has something, right?
Sure.
So it's kind of weird to disregard all the other mental illnesses that more than likely we would benefit from therapy, especially when engaged in good faith, and it's not like this little like competition that you have with your therapist, which I've done before, but it is what
So
it is.
the difference between trans and ADHD or whatever mental illness, right, is that people with ADHD don't ban people from the melee scene. If I say, "Hey, OCD is a mental illness," I could put that on Twitter 8,000 times. I can still play melee, right?
Right,
So,
because that's not like a social thing that people just choose to identify with. That is something that you're born with, right? Or something that I guess develops later. Like you've always kind of had it, but the symptoms and other shit got worse as you got an adult, and you didn't recognize this as a kid, and now the symptoms are showing up and you have no idea how to deal with it, and you obviously still need professional help, right?
How is that
But
different
that's
from
not
the
something
trans
that people,
experience?
because from the trans experience, you're choosing to identify
You're
as this.
choosing to be trans? Are you sure about that?
Well, listen,
Sounds
like
transphobic to
okay,
me.
I guess so. I mean, listen, I'm gay, but like
Okay.
I choose to be true to myself. I don't choose to put a woman through a relationship, have kids, and be unhappy with her because secretly I don't like women in that way, right? I
Okay.
wouldn't see her in that way. I could choose to do that and be Christian and be like, yeah, this is like the right thing for me to do to get into heaven, and being gay is a sin, right? I could, I guess, choose to do that. But me on the inside, I will always be gay. I cannot change that about myself. That's just that's just how it is, right? Whether
Okay.
I choose to suppress it or not is up to me. But in the end, my true self is gay, right? I'm always gonna like dudes, at least as far as I know. You know what I mean? Like I've been pretty adamant on that. It hasn't really changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. I
and for these trans people who when they were younger, like they felt like, yeah, like I feel like a girl, and they grow up and they go through other experiences and situations. They have friends to talk to. They look at their media idols and other people who have gone through the transition. Like it took me a fucking long time to even come out to my closest friends. It wasn't until I was noticing other people and genuinely getting scared. I would never want to come out to parental figures because the threat of getting kicked out or, ostracized, excommunicated, like not loved anymore, all because I have something I can't control. Like, you know what I mean? So maybe when they were younger, right? Like they felt that way, and it's not until an adult that they really get to express themselves and be who they are with no restrictions. They're financially stable. They can make decisions for themselves. They've asked this question 100 times of themselves, right? And now they're making that choice to go through with it and express themselves who they are. Like I make my
yeah,
choice
but they
on being gay and doing what I feel is healthy and fun and right for me, because I would never want to put a woman through that. I wouldn't want to just lie to her and say that I love her. I want to have kids with you, have a family, have kids, and I just never truly love her. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah,
So
when
being
I say that being
trans
trans
not
is
a
a
choice.
well,
It's not a
right,
choice.
right. But choosing to go through the surgery and all that shit, like yeah, that to me is a choice. To go through
Yeah.
the physical surgery of it is a choice. But and people who choose what they want to identify as, I guess, is a choice as well. I mean, you could be something underneath, but on the outside, you choose to not show that.
I don't think you can choose.
That's what I mean by choice.
I don't think you can choose what you want.
You cannot choose what you like.
Yeah.
That I will agree with. You can't choose what you like. You can't choose what you're sexually attracted to.
Yeah.
Like you don't make those choices. Those are predetermined by your personality. Even like I don't even want to say surroundings because I grew up in a Christian household, going to Christian school, and here I am, like
You could say it's
the complete black sheep of that.
you could say it's built in. It's built chosen by God. Maybe it's chosen by your development, your environment. Whatever you want to call it, right?
I
So
mean, the Calvinists have it right. If we want to talk about Christians and
sure.
Christianity, the Calvinists have it right. They're the ones who believe that at birth you are predetermined by God whether you will go to heaven or hell. Because obviously God can see into the future. He creates the future. He's
Yeah.
in God's channel, right? He can see those things. So he's
So
already made that decision before we've even conceived of that even happening.
just to try and bring this back, so nobody chooses to have ADHD or OCD.
Nope.
They just
Nope.
have that.
You're born with it.
Same thing with trans. Nobody chooses to have gender dysphoria. That just happens to somebody, right?
Yeah.
So I can go online and I can talk all day about OCD or maybe something like alcoholism. I can say, hey, I think being an alcoholic is bad. I think if you're drinking too much, you should stop. Here's all my moral opinions about alcoholism, right? And there
Mhm.
can be an alcoholic in the melee scene.
which there has. There's a
Yeah,
pretty prominent one,
obviously.
right?
So, but
Not that I agree with his ban
yeah,
either.
I
You know what I
don't
mean?
get.
Even though that like what he did wasn't like
Yeah,
the best thing in the world, it shouldn't have been as a crazy explosion as it was.
I don't get banned for talking about alcoholism. I can make moral judgments about a thousand different things, right? I can say, I don't think somebody should be an alcoholic. Here's why. Here's what I would do if I was an alcoholic. But then if I
But the
say,
moment you put trans into that conversation, that's when you're saying
yeah,
you get blown up out of the water.
because I can say, hey, if you're a 16-year-old girl and you identify as a boy, I don't think you should cut your tits off. I'm now banned from Melee. I can't play
But
Melee now.
why are we even saying these? Like I don't understand. Like why
Well,
is it
for
even of
one
any
thing,
concern to either of us, right? Like if what they do, right? Like
for me, it's a concern for two reasons. One, because it's kicking people out of the Melee scene. I don't agree with the leadership. I don't think they should be in charge. I don't think the system of ideas should be in charge. And then two, I don't think women should cut their tits off. Just generally, I think if you're a guy and you identify as transgender, you shouldn't cut your nuts off. I think that that's a bad idea. It's the same.
morally.
Yeah.
Whoa, hold on. Morally,
Yes. Yes.
that's a bit of a stretch, don't you think?
Well, okay. Is it correct to be an alcoholic? I don't
I
think
mean,
so.
the thing with morals and ethics is that they're all subjective. It's why people can do the most heinous, horrible things without a flinch in
Yeah,
their fucking eyes because they believe that like this is the right thing to do,
but
right? Like,
but me and you can sit here and we can say morally we think that being an alcoholic, like if you're going out and you're drinking 30 beers a day, morally you're making a bad decision. That's
and
an
you're waking up and you have the shakes and you literally have a vodka bottle in your fridge that is marked with a black expo to be like, I need to drink this much for me to be like in a
yeah.
homeostasis with my body so I don't shake and die from alcoholism. Yeah, if it's affecting your daily life, you can't hold a job. You're so unhealthy that like you can't live without this thing. Yeah, there's a problem, right? Like,
Okay. So
we
but
can
okay,
play video games all the
wait,
time, but
wait.
if it doesn't, okay, all right,
Hold
all
up
right.
though. Hold up though. I just want to say, me and you can agree here morally. We can make a judgment about another person's life. We can sit here and say that person is an alcoholic. Here's what they should do. I'm not saying force them. They have the right to be an alcoholic. I'm not. I would never vote for a state that's going to force them to do anything. I would never. If they're a friend, I would encourage them. Maybe an intervention, right? But we can sit here just like as armchair philosophers here and say morally, you know what I'm saying though? Like morally that this person is making certain decisions and they should not make those decisions. They
Yeah,
should.
we make judgments all the time. That's how we
Okay.
get through life,
But we're
right?
actually okay.
That's just who we are.
We're actually okay making these judgments, me and you. Like we can sit here together and we're not wrong. I'm not wrong to say that that person shouldn't be an alcoholic. That's not immoral for me to say. I could tweet it. That's not bad for me to say. I mean, obviously,
No, and
situation.
you'd have plenty of straight edgers agreeing with you, of course. They'd be like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, alcohol fucking ruined my life."
yeah,
For a lot of people, it's you're all in or nothing. It's never in the middle. Like I feel lucky that I can restrict myself from drinking alcohol on the weekends if I want to. I don't really drink throughout the week unless it's some special occasion or
yeah.
whatever. It's not something that's like an every night thing. Now, maybe weed, on the other hand, is a little different. That's sort of
Well,
like a
yeah,
daily, nightly thing, especially when I'm playing games with the boys at night.
yeah.
I definitely want to smoke some weed. That's just how it is.
I don't want to get too caught up on the details of like all I'm trying to say is that we can make moral judgments about other people. It is possible for me to sit here personally, look at another person and say that decision was wrong. That decision was right. I can say that.
And legally, you are protected. Legally, you are
No, but
protected.
not
But
even
when it
legally.
goes from peer to peer,
Not
it's
even
different.
Yeah, but not even legally. I don't want to even bring in laws here or rights or any of this
Okay.
stuff. I'm just saying like it's ancient tribal times. We're in a tribe and we see one of the members of the tribe
Ooga
doing
booga. He hit rock on
yeah.
his head too much.
He's exactly yeah. Yeah. And then so it turns out that it's actually I would hesitate to call it objectively because we're going to have to talk about objective morality, but it turns out that there is a kind of universal morality that all humans agree on. where everybody in the tribe is going to say that guy's fucking up. And we can say that. And that's not wrong for us to say. And it actually turns out that we need to say that and communicate as a tribe to help that person correct themselves so that they can get their shit together and help us as a tribe. It's like selfish for me to want somebody else to not be an alcoholic because then they can get their shit together and make,
Let me give you another example. Okay.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
church back in, I guess, the medieval times, or even before that,
Yeah.
right? They thought that the earth was the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Okay. Earth, everything revolves around earth. And guess what? If you were against that ideology, we'd fucking kill you. We'd burn you at the stake, man. Like,
Yeah.
you're not welcome here. And it wasn't until somebody else was like, oh shit, like maybe we're not the center of the universe. Maybe the sun is actually in the center and we just revolve around the sun. I mean, that back then, that kind of statement was blasphemy. Okay. Like
Galileo had a rough
I under,
time.
and you can compare this to the I guess the cult, like, like, oh, with the whole trans thing, but in a way it's a little bit different because
Well,
like
before
it's just
before we
it's
jump
not
into
it's
before we jump into philosophy and like worldview, like before we go into like big ideas like worldviews, like what is Earth? What are humans? How do we get here? Right? Like, are we the
is the
center of
earth
the universe?
flat,
Yeah.
stupid shit like that.
So like before even considering any of that, if you just consider like small communities, if somebody is fucking up, you have a moral obligation if they're in your community to say something and help them. Like, and that's objectively true, I think, because it's
Yeah,
your
as
own.
humans we definitely
Yeah,
love, helping each other out. That's kind
but
of our
it's not just
something
about
that's like
love.
built within us, right?
Yeah, there's a reason that that's built in. Part of the reason that's built in is because you need to help other people so that they can help you. Because the world is hard to survive in. If you're in the jungle and there's 10 of you, right?
And you're
And
alone, right?
yeah, and one of you's fucking up. One of you's just getting drunk every day. You're like, yo, we are on the brink of like dying here. You need to stop drinking so much because you got to help us build tents or whatever, right? And so like it's actually morally correct for all of us to say, hey, stop that. Don't do that, right? So forget like what's true in terms of like flat earth. It doesn't matter. The earth could be flat. All that matters is like you're in the jungle right here right now. This is our contextual world, and there's a moral landscape that we have to take into account because the world will kill us. Like winter's coming, it's going to rain, we need to find food. So like if you're making immoral decisions, it affects me, it affects the tribe, you need to stop. It's the same thing with trans. Because if somebody's cutting their nuts off and they're going down a depressive, anxious, suicidal, dark pathway, it's in my best interest. I mean, obviously the world is much bigger now. I don't know, if you're living in another state 1,000 miles away, your decisions aren't going to affect me directly. But in the sense that we're in a community, it's in my best interest to reduce the alcoholism. Like in my neighborhood, I don't want there to be more alcoholics. I want there to be less because my neighborhood will be nicer, right? And like that's a selfish thing. It's also it helps the neighborhood. Like everybody in the neighborhood should want everybody in the neighborhood making good moral decisions, just generally.
So let me get this straight, right?
Sure.
Because I had thought that trans people were killing themselves because they were invalidated, because
Yeah,
people bully them, because
that's
people ostracize them, because people blame them for their problems, being like, it is your guys' fault, it is your community's fault that we're all like this now, and that we have to conform to you as opposed to conforming to us, and how we have this, bigoted, small mind view on how everybody should act, right? Like, so to sit there and validate somebody, don't you think it would actually help your community by, validating their experience by being
no.
like, hey, like, you feel this way right now, sure, and we'll always love you, you're our friend, right? Like, we care about you more than just about how you identify, how much money you make, what your job is, whatever. Like, it's on a different level, it's on a personal, you know
So I
like,
got to disagree with the premise. I don't think that that's I mean this is going to be controversial and it's a complicated issue. I don't think that's So the question is, why are they killing themselves? Why does a trans person get depressed and kill themselves, right? And
Because
then,
they feel invalidated. I
yes,
feel like
okay,
that's the main consensus, is that
yeah, but
they
that
want to
can,
identify as this thing.
yeah,
Nobody sees them as that way. They don't have communities to be a part of.
that
They're in
can,
their own. They are the outcast. They
uh,
are the new outcast in school, and they get together and play video games when nobody else is around them. And if you want to come and hang out with them, you need to pass the social circle test to
that can,
fucking get in here with us.
I don't agree with that consensus view. I don't believe that that is what's happening.
Okay.
So, yeah. Are they being invalidated? Sure. I'm not saying it's not happening, right? Obviously, I'm on Twitter saying you're not a woman, right? So, like, that's happening, right?
And I know that you want to be a TO that
Yes.
has everybody come and we're all fucking kumbaya playing melee together, and you have
Yes.
fucking Yoshi versus Falco. Okay, like this is what we want to see, right?
Yeah, I believe
You know,
in melee as the bridge to bridge these the worlds. But I want to focus on this thing here because a lot of trans people get very depressed. That's a common. I mean, I don't know the studies on it, right? But there's a
there's a lot of depression in the world right now,
yes, yeah,
especially within males,
yeah.
cis males. I mean,
It's tough out there
just
for
trying to
them.
find a mate with a woman, that in and of itself makes them want to kill themselves. They lose their
Uh,
job living
yeah.
paycheck to paycheck, and they can't get another job. Their house is about to get foreclosed on, and they feel like there's no fucking hope. They do not want to file for bankruptcy. They would rather kill themselves than file bankruptcy.
It's
Their
tough out
their
there.
ego, their pride. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of shit in this human experience.
Yeah.
It's just, why tack another thing on top of that? Like, why have this big shit ball of shit that we have to deal with as people, and we're just tacking onto the top of it because, we feel it's the right thing to do, is to keep tacking onto it and be like, you're not actually a woman, you're wrong, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're gonna regret it, you're just stupid. Like, I just think you're dumb because you think you're a woman, but really you're not, because you're confused about who you are, right? Like, and I'm the
That's funny.
righteous one. I know, I am aware of what you should be feeling like. And it's just, like,
That's funny.
that's the sentiment that they receive from that, right? Is that they feel like you are trying to take control of their experience, their life, their choices, what they think is right, just like how we have opinions of what we think is right.
Okay.
Whether it's logically based or not,
Let me
it is what it is.
let me wind that in. Okay, so
Okay.
yes, the world is tough. It's tough out there for the bros and for the ladies, right? It's hard. It's not getting easier. It seems like finding a job is not easier than it used to be. Nobody has
Like, do you think Elon is happy? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
I don't
richest
know.
guy in the world.
I don't know. I don't, it's yeah, it's tough out there for a lot of reasons. I don't want to, I obviously there's like blanket statements we can apply to all humans, especially our age right now. Um, it's tough, and trans people. Okay, I want to focus on this. So,
Yeah.
a lot of people get depressed. I'm not saying it's only trans people, but there is a correlation between depression and trans.
Trans and suicide and depression, they're kind
Yes.
of all like,
Yeah.
we're juggling balls and they're all together here,
Yeah.
right? Like, they go hand in hand, is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I'm not saying only trans people are depressed. I'm saying that trans
No.
people are more often depressed than your overall population, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but like, why do you think that is?
Okay, so there's all that's where it actually gets really interesting. This is first of all, I think partially what's happening is people are having normal human experiences, especially young women, where you're a 16-year-old, for example, you get depressed, you get anxious because the world is fucked. Also, that's just part of a natural human course of history. I think even if you're living in the 1100s, you're going to be a depressed 15-year-old, right? Like that's like a teenage experience is to go through
Yeah,
like an
there's like
anxious.
famine and war and
Yeah.
disease everywhere, and like,
So
I can only get a job as a blacksmith because my family's a commoner. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much status and social pressure,
yeah,
and you have to be this thing. You don't get a choice.
the
You know what I mean? Your family's a blacksmith. Your family's a commoner. Guess what, bitch? You're gonna be a blacksmith. You cannot go and fucking put out a platinum album and get paid making music. Like, that's not a thing back then, right?
the feudal
Unless
system
you
was
were
rough.
unless you were a bard, you
Yeah,
were a royal bard, and you got to play for the
yeah,
king's
yeah,
castle. That would be the equivalent to selling a platinum record,
yeah.
right? As being a bard back then.
So the point is that anxiety and depression are kind of natural human experiences that we would experience anywhere in time. You know, no matter who you are, you could be super rich, you could be poor, you could be a peasant, whatever it is.
Right. And Melee is supposed to bridge that gap, right?
Well, all I'm saying is that depression is a natural part of life. You're going to be depressed at some point in your life. We all have been there, I think. And that partially what
more
happened.
more times than you would
Yeah,
like
I
to
mean,
know.
yes, for some people it's more, some people it's less. You know,
Oh fuck.
yeah. But what there's two things I want to say here, but I want to start with I think partially what's happening is people are having fairly normal human experiences that would be normal across all of time and culture. And then another part of it is the compounding modern state of society. We are being deranged by like chemicals in the water and social media and like who knows
And
what's going on in the
fluoride
world.
in our
Yeah,
water. Everybody gives us the
yeah.
fluoride stare. You know what I mean? You go to Walmart.
Well,
You
AI is
know.
taking over, right? There's like a lot of reasons to be anxious. I mean, we might be having a nuclear war or something soon. Like, there's a lot of like modern factors that weigh into why people get anxious and depressed, but it's also a natural state of life. And what I see happening is people will take normal human anxiety or modern human anxiety and they will look for reasons why they feel this way, and that one of the answers today is, oh, you're actually transgender, you're actually in the wrong body. The reason you're feeling anxious and depressed isn't because you're having a normal 15-year-old human experience, it's because you're born in the wrong body. And so they get tricked, they get a narrative placed on their experience that is false. It's a false narrative. Am I saying that nobody ever who is 15 has ever had gender dysphoria? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we're kind of overdiagnosing it. There's people that don't have gender dysphoria and they're being convinced that they have it because they're having fairly normal human experiences in the year 2018 when trans is like a thing, right? And I don't want, you've heard the term social contagion, but I think inarguably there has been what?
Nothing. Just the
I mean,
word. There's the social
yeah,
contagion, just used
I
by the
know.
people who call people troons and shit. Like,
I know. It
yeah,
makes
well, whatever.
me. I'm basically
Go
Nick
on.
Fuentes or something now that I've said that, right? I'm basically
Not
so.
even. But yeah.
But like, there is a social contagion aspect to the trans identification. I think that there are a lot of young women, especially, who are identifying as trans when really, if they had been born in the 80s, they would have been self-harming. They would have been like in a different social category, right? It's just like a normal human experience that's being called trans. And so that's part of the reason that we see so much depression in transgender people. Is because that's where they started. They were already confused and anxious. I mean, life is fucking hard, right? As being a human is hard, right?
So let me just add to that a little
Sure,
bit, right?
sure. Yeah,
So the perception of reality is
yeah.
more real than reality itself. And the fact that we get, like, our perception can be so easily tricked. I mean, you want to do a deep dive on optical illusions and subliminal messaging and other shit, and like, the blue color theory on like how MK Ultra was trying to control people like with the color blue. Like, you know
Yeah,
it
yeah.
it it doesn't shock or surprise me that when we have these perceptions and we have these feelings, these ideas of what we think is right and wrong, that we will make those things a reality. We are creationists at the end of the day. All humans create things. Like, everything that we have, our problems, our jobs, like, everything is all created, right?
Okay, but I got to push back right here. Is that
Yeah.
you can lie to yourself. I get what you're saying that you
Of
sort of
course. Yeah. That's what I mean by, like, you
yeah,
can trick your own perception.
yeah.
And if you're able to do that, you can change reality, because perception is more real
But
than reality
the
itself.
the the problem is that's a tricky one. That is a tricky one because reality will kick back, right? It's not like you can entirely change reality with your beliefs, right? If I'm
We've had
so
people try many, many
yeah,
times. You know what I mean?
if
Like,
I'm so delusional that I believe I can fly, I jump off a cliff, turns out I can't fly, I kill myself, right? So it's
right.
like belief does change your reality. I would believe in that moment that I can fly when I jump off a
But
cliff.
all the anxiety within you that's like biologically implanted in you is
Yeah.
telling you, you will fucking die. Do not do this. You are not prepared for this. Now, if you gave yourself the illusion that, oh, I'm going to build these wings and I'm going to wear these wings before I jump off. And I feel that I'm going to soar when I have these wings on, even though I haven't tested them yet. I've given myself the, like, I'm Icarus right now
Yeah.
and I can fucking fly. And you
So
jump off and you fly and you're like, great. Like, what's the next thing? How high can I fly? And you fly too high to the sun and you burn your feathers off, right?
so all I'm trying to say there, like I said, there's two things. We're still on this first thing here, is that
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's depressed will become convinced by sort of the discourse online. If you hop online, they're going to tell you you're depressed because you're trans, right? That's a lie. They're depressed for some other reason. They're depressed because it's a normal feeling to be depressed.
Right,
Then they're,
because part of their human experience as,
yeah.
I guess, being a trans person is being
No,
invalidated, being bullied,
so
which is stuff that
slow
we've
down
all
here.
gone through too,
Slow
right?
down
Okay,
here.
okay, okay.
That's the second thing I would like to get there. The first thing I'm talking about is somebody who's experiencing normal depression is told that they're trans, becomes convinced that they're trans. They believe it, right? Like they're taking their normal experience of anxiety and depression. They're coming to believe that that's due to the fact that they're in the wrong body. But that was a lie from the start. They were depressed for normal reasons. Then they start to believe, oh shit, I'm in the wrong body, right? That wasn't true from the start. They've deceived themselves, and they've been deceived by culture at large because this trans thing has become very popular, right? That's the social contagion aspect of it, and you can see it. There are, I mean, I'm not the only person talking about this. There's people talking about how groups of girls in high school, one turns trans, and then five more will turn trans within a year, right? There's a social contagion aspect. You can look up, uh, what's her name? Abigail Shrier wrote a book about it. She's
Okay.
talked about it in a lot of places. That there is, it's the same thing with cutting, with self harm. In the early 2000s or late 90s or whatever, one girl would start cutting herself, and then her whole friend group would start doing it. Right? This isn't crazy. This isn't a conspiracy. Like I'm not like making
Well,
things
no,
up.
this is just the monkey eating the red berries. I mean,
Yeah, it's how
there's
humans
other
work, right?
examples of that, like when you go out to dinner and you're in a group
Yeah.
and it's time for dessert, and the waiter asks you, "Do you guys want dessert?" And at first everybody's like, "No, no, I'm good, I'm good." And then it takes one guy to be like, "Yeah, I want the key lime pie, please. I'd like a slice of that." And
Okay.
now everybody's like, "Oh shit, I want to get dessert too now." I don't,
So
like now they think it's okay to do it. Like I understand that aspect. I've never heard of one person in your group is trans and now everybody, it just spreads like a mental contagion, like how
it's
you guys
a
say,
it's
right?
a real thing. I'm not making that up. I mean, it's you'd have to obviously my podcast sphere is different than yours. So,
I mean,
um
I barely watch any podcasts at
yeah.
all, really.
I
So
There's a woman who talks about this a lot. Her name is Abigail Shrier, Shrier. She wrote a book called The Missing Something. The pictures with a girl with her. Like basically, she talks about her focus is young women, and she talks
okay.
about how young women are frequently depressed throughout time. Right? It makes sense to be a teenage girl and feel anxious for a lot of reasons. You start growing boobs, men start looking at you. Right? Like that's gonna
you
make
you have a way that you need to present yourself as a woman, right?
yeah
Like,
yeah
and women, even within their own cliques, they have their perceptions. Like,
yeah.
obviously women love sex, but no woman ever wants to be labeled as a slut, right?
Yeah.
No woman ever wants to be labeled as a
So
slut. That's like
so
horrible, right? Even though men brag about fucking women all the time, right?
yeah, the great double standard. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there's young women who, if they weren't exposed to the transgender concept, would experience depression and anxiety and then move through it through a different pathway. They would go through whatever pathway they would have gone through in the 1970s, right? Where they're depressed, they go through some depressive phase, they get older, they figure out how to get out of it. This is a human thing. We all go through phases of confusion and anxiety. We have to work our
And we
way
want
through it.
communities where we belong too,
So,
right? I
okay,
mean,
but I'm just trying to say that they are not truly transgender. They are not like the medical classification of transgender, right? They're being told they're transgender, being convinced by it because it's a very popular idea in current culture. I mean, starting in the year 2000, maybe 2010 to 2015, we saw a massive rise in trans identification. My claim would be, and Abigail Shrier's claim, and a lot of other people's claim would be, that this is an overdiagnosis of transgender. That there's a lot of people that are experiencing any variety of experiences, being told they're trans, they're not really trans, right? So what they go on,
Maybe.
well, okay.
Go on.
I mean, but the problem is you got a 16-year-old girl. She's like, I want to be he, him, right? She's not truly transgender. She's not. But then she takes testosterone when she's 17. She gets her tits cut off when she's 18, right? These are moral errors. These are errors even from her own perspective, right? And if I support that, I'm committing a moral error. So you can say, okay, pronouns. If I use he, him, I've now committed a type 2 error with her. I would prefer to err on the side of type 1 errors, where I will say, you're still a girl. I disagree with your pronouns. You're a girl, and I'm not going to use your pronouns, right? If they're truly transgender, if their experiences that they're experiencing are because they have the medical classification of gender dysphoria, I have made a moral error. But if they are one of these people who is experiencing a normal human experience that's being falsely, basically they have a false positive of being trans, right? They think they're trans. They've done the test, whatever the test is. They believe they're trans. They're going to go on to do the medical treatments, and that will be a mistake that they'll regret when they're 25 for the rest of their life. They're going to have to spend the rest of their life with a deeper voice, facial hair, no boobs. That has medical impacts on them for the rest of their life, right? That's a moral error. The same thing as alcoholism. It's a problem. It reduces the overall happiness of the world. You know what I mean? Like, it's
But
not
how
just,
do we know we're making that error with this specific individual, right? Like
that's a great
when
question.
you say that trans women aren't women, you are classifying that every single trans woman, right, is in the wrong when you say those things. Because to you, there's no exception. I will never call a trans woman a woman. I will die on this hill. You have to kill me to get me to say these things, right? So you're putting all of them into a little like
I
bubble,
I never
right,
said
where
I
there's
wouldn't.
no real like.
I never said
I,
wouldn't use pronouns. I never said that. There are some cases where I would use cross-sex pronouns. So
okay, I mean, I'm just taking from what you said with unable table. Like
yes,
I have my list of notes here with like
I am
what.
not against using she, her, but that's still a transgender woman, and that's still not a woman. A transgender woman is never a woman. That's just not the case. It's a woman is a particular thing in the universe, and a
So
transgender woman
then
is another
then
particular thing, and those are two
then
different
then then
things.
answer my question that I asked you earlier. What is a woman? What is a man? Can
Okay,
you
so we
just
can
define
try and
that
get
for
into
me?
that. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I use the restroom first? Uh, Let me take
Yeah,
a leak.
sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
no problem.
yeah. I don't want to pause it, but I also have to pee. I've been drinking a lot of
No,
coffee.
it bothers me that you don't use editing software to like cut out the dead air, but that's just my opinion.
Uh, I'll be right back. Sorry, guys.
Go ahead. All right, chat. What do you think? What's your take? What's your input?
Okay, I have returned. Thank you
All
for
right.
your patience, everybody, uh, listeners, and Boono.
What's up?
Hi,
Yeah, everybody calls me Boon. They never
Boon. Okay.
they don't know how to pronounce the whole thing unless you're like a close friend of mine. So
Okay, so we got to the real interesting stuff. What is a woman?
yeah,
What is a woman? What is a man?
in your own words, like I'm not looking for
Yeah,
legal definitions here. I'm just in your viewpoint.
sure.
What validates a woman as a woman?
Well, that's a different question.
Well, what is a
um,
woman? I guess
yeah. So
that
this
would
is
make you want to call them a woman in your eyes, right?
that's another different question. Okay,
Come
it
on, bro.
is.
Come on, bro. We're talking about random people we see like on the fucking street, and we're just assuming with our eyes and how they appear, right? Like if they're a woman or not, right? I mean, because why wouldn't
No,
you? If they,
well, because I could be deceived. For example, I could think somebody's a woman, and then I take their pants off, and they have a dick, and I'd be like, "Oh fuck."
well, that's
That's
on them that they don't want to disclose that with you. I mean,
well, I would have
that's
been,
sort of a violation. I feel like in a way, if they
but
are presenting as a woman, they're talking to a straight man, and they're not letting them know that, like, yeah, like I do have a penis, you know,
but the funny thing is, if you ask me what is a woman, I'd point. I'd be like, "She's a woman, right?" Because and then I
because
would
she
learn.
has a vagina.
No, 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 no. I would like, let's say we're hanging out on the streets, and a
Yeah.
trans woman who's very convincing comes up. I would say that's a woman because I'm convinced that's a woman, right?
And they actually feel empowered when they're
Yeah.
female
So
presenting and they get called a woman. They love that shit.
so
They're like, yes, they're like, yes, I'm woman present. Yes, dude, I passed is what they say.
but
Like I passed as a woman. I'm great.
we're talking about what is a woman, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier how reality is kind of we make our reality, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
if I
The perception of reality is more
so
real than
I
reality
could
itself.
genuinely encounter a transgender woman, and it would kick off all of my senses as an animal. That's a woman, right? I could be attracted, right? And
Right. We're
then
using our
yeah,
deductive reasoning, our logic,
sure,
and just how
yeah.
we interact with the world, right? That's just our
But
default.
then the funny thing is that I would find out later that's not a woman. That would change my reality, right? Like I'd be like,
Well,
shit, that's not a woman.
maybe not a woman that you would have sex with is a little
No,
different because
if I found a
if they
dick,
have
I would say that's not a woman.
well, I mean, it's not that it's not a woman per se.
It's
It's
not a
more
woman.
like
Yeah, I don't think that. I think that
just on their genitals is where you draw the line.
no. See, this is again where it gets complicated, right? This is this. I mean, first of all, we're not going to
Because
settle.
if a dude bro that you hang out with, and like the dude bro ends up liking you, and the dude bro's like, hey, I have a vagina. Do you want to try it out? Like, are you gonna be like enticed to be like,
No, I don't think
I
so.
get to participate in this taboo? You know what I mean? Like,
That's a funny example that I mean that pops up in our in the alt melee servers. There's this one guy.
and
I mean,
I just want to let everyone know that I'm not alt right. I would
yeah.
classify myself as dark woke. Okay.
There's this one famous porn star who is like the most manly looking man you've ever seen, like hairy, bald guy, like jacked.
Like a
But
Brad Calvo or something.
yeah, I don't. I mean, but then he is a she, right? He has a vagina, right?
Right.
So like, and then the joke is, would you have sex with that? And be like, that'd be a strange experience, right? But
You get the best of both worlds. You get the best of both
like,
worlds.
is it
You
gay?
don't have to deal with the nagging, and you get a vagina. Like that's crazy. That's like a cheat code, right? Like this isn't normal.
The question is it gay to fuck that person? Because you're fucking a guy
Oh
with a vagina. Like it's a dude with a beard, but he's got a vagina, right? So it's like this weird, like, is that gay? Like I don't know. But that's the same question of
well, because then you get into the topic of like, oh well, if you like masculine stuff, it makes you gay, but if you like feminine stuff, it doesn't make you gay. So if that same person was like a femboy, it would be fine. It would be like the femboy is like doing all the feminine
yeah.
things. They're skinny, they have clear skin,
So
but they have a vagina, right?
so
Then it's okay. Then it's not gay anymore.
I think femboys, if you fuck a femboy, you are gay. I believe that that's
It's
true.
all gay. It's all gay.
It is gay.
You
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're just getting head. It's gay.
Correct.
like,
Correct.
you
Yeah.
know.
It has to be a girl with a vagina. Then it's not gay. But like,
Like, I don't try to draw the line and sort of like intrude on their identity, right? Like
well,
I like the masculine presenting
so
male. That's kind of what I'm into.
so
I don't do the feminine stuff with sex.
this is where it gets back to this core question, like, what is a woman, right? And we're not
Yeah.
going to be able to settle this between the two of us, I don't think.
It's too nebulous. I mean,
Well,
I was kind of hoping you would agree that like
I
there's no real way to define what a woman is besides our own predispositions of what we've been taught what a woman is supposed to be and look like,
so
right?
that's this is where I have to disagree. It's not nebulous. It is you. So okay, I'm just gonna like say what people have been saying so far, right? On the left, people will say a woman is whatever a person who identifies as a woman is, right? Like that. Their definition of a woman is somebody who identifies as a woman. And then the classic like Matt Walsh response is, well, what is that, right? Like, how are you defining that? I'm sure you've seen the interviews on the street where they ask somebody what's a woman. You know what I'm talking about? You must have
Right.
seen these in
And
our
then the
culture.
next question is like, well, what is the cat? And it's like,
Yeah,
well, I've
yeah,
never been a cat, so how can I say what I know what a feline is? You
yeah.
know what I
But
mean? But we can obviously identify what a cat is. We can identify what a chair is.
okay.
That's another key argument
So
in that
then,
space is like what is a chair? Beside
yeah.
as opposed to a stool or a table,
So
you know?
yeah, and so you've seen the classic right wing response now is a woman is an adult human female, right? Like that's like the 3 word definition, adult
Old
human
human
female,
female.
right?
Okay.
Right, and like that's the
Yeah,
answer,
that
right?
that sums it up,
But
right?
yeah, so the problem is that's not a complete answer. It's not wrong,
No,
but it's
not
not
in the
complete
slightest.
because the left wing ideas are right. Is that a lot of what a woman is in our head, right? So you mentioned something about what we're taught, right? Like a lot of what a
Mhm.
woman is what we're taught. Women wear dresses, they do blah blah blah, right?
They play with dolls. They like the
Yeah.
color pink. They like to hang out with other girlies. They like to cook. They like to sew.
So,
You'll never catch a Kim Kardashian at the construction
so
site, right?
this is where this term gender is a social construct comes from. Woman, this concept of woman is a social construct that over centuries we've developed through our culture and tradition or whatever, right? And we're brought up in a world to like be socialized into knowing what a woman is, right? That is actually wrong. That's wrong. Um,
Pray tell.
I guess the first thing I need to ask you is where did humans come from, in your view?
Outer space.
Yeah, is it the Anunnaki? Are you an
I
Anunnaki
mean,
guy?
recently we've actually found meteorites that make up our building blocks as humans. I mean,
Sure.
it's not that far fetched to say that our DNA, the things that make up who we are, our consciousness, our sentience is mostly a mistake. Like it
So
just happens. It's like,
yeah, but that's not. You're answering the question: where did life come from? Life might have come from a meteorite that smashed into Earth,
mhm,
right? That would be like the panspermia theory, right? That a rock hits
yeah.
Earth, crashes into a puddle, microbes form, and
And
they
then
have.
and then evolution takes its
Yeah.
place, right? Over millions of years.
Okay, so you're an evolution guy, Darwin guy, right?
I mean, I'm not. I'll just make it very clear. I'm not religious.
Yeah.
I don't go by that thought process of like how we came to be.
Sure. So we have common ancestry with chimpanzees.
Yeah, and there's that missing link, right?
Yes, I believe that to be true myself. I think that we emerged somewhere in like Africa or near-ish there or whatever, right? Maybe some small number of million years ago, uh, early human ancestors diverged from chimpanzees. We started walking, talking, fire, blah blah blah, populate the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so we agree on the origin of humanity, right? That there's a Darwinian explanation for how we got here. So what is a woman?
And it's based on our environment that like changes happen, right? Like cockroaches now
Yeah,
are they're developing anti-pesticides on their exoskeleton, right? Like they're able to withstand
yeah.
older pesticides. We need new formulas for pesticides to effectively kill them because they've become resistant to it, because us as humans have been fucking them up with pesticides, and their new babies are going to be more resistant to it, right?
That's perfect way to say it. Our bodies are formed by the environment, by an evolutionary process that molds us to sort of fit our environment, to survive in our environment, right? So, like my skull, my bones, my hands are all adaptations to survive in this world. Does that make sense? Like if I ask where did my hand come from, I can trace this backwards to like monkey hands, to early mammal hands. That's why my bone structure here looks the same as like a rat's bone structure, right? Like you can look at like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like I know what you're saying, but
Yeah.
like what about like a hole in the ground that's filled with a puddle? Like is the water conforming to the hole, or is the hole perfectly aligned with the water? I mean, which one is it?
I mean, in that case, yeah, it's not really an evolution thing. It would just be like a physics thing, right? Like water just kind of fills the space. It's a liquid, right?
I
It
mean,
is kind
us
of the
as
same thing.
humans, we
It
fill
is,
that space,
yeah,
right?
it is the same thing with animals and humans in life. Like our bodies are kind of like water that has filled a sort of niche in the environment, right? Like there's like a space for it. And, you know, Dawkins actually used to say that you can predict the shape of that you can predict the shape of an animal by its environment. That you could look at it, we could like in some theoretical world, we could go to like another
Like
planet, see the environment, and then predict what the animals would look like. You know what I mean?
like a really, really, really skinny, long, like manta ray or a fish or something that hides underneath the sand, and it literally sets itself as a trap for when fish go over it, they can come up and grab the fish and eat it. Right? They've changed themselves to be
Yeah.
part of that. That's how they survive in the environment. Is that they use their body as camouflage to hide underneath sand to capture
Yes.
their prey. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's all kinds of stuff. And yeah, like us as humans, like we have that sentience, we have that choice to sort of like
Well,
choose how we want to be and tackle the world and choose our battles, right?
wait a second. Before we even get to choice, we're making it too complicated here. I want to talk about body structure first because this is
Okay.
interesting to me. Skeletons, for example. Like, well, I didn't choose my skeleton. It just looks like this, right? And it's shaped this way because of an evolutionary process, right? So, like, um, my you mentioned the water in the puddle, right? My
Hmm.
skeleton is similar to the water that fills up the space in the puddle. My skeleton is the answer to the environmental factors that were there, right? Like evolution created my body as an answer to the
Yeah,
problems.
you came
Yeah.
out of a woman's womb, right? You were
Well,
born in a hospital,
you're jumping
preferably.
way too far ahead here. But like my hand, for example, why does it look like this, right? And you could easily say that this is the shape of a branch. Like the reason the hands look like this is because monkeys have been grabbing branches instead of looking like something else, right? Does that make sense
Yeah,
to you? Right? Is
yeah.
that like a controversial statement? No. Okay. All right. It's always hard to stay on track with this stuff. We're talking about what is a woman. Most people think that it's a social construct, that it's something that we invented, right? Our bodies have adapted to trees, for example. My hand shape is an adaptation to a physical thing in the environment. My
Hmm.
legs are an adaptation to,
Keep talking, keep
yeah, yeah.
talking. I can hear you.
My legs and my skeleton are a adaptation to gravity on Earth. If gravity was slightly different, my skeleton would look different. If the air
Hmm.
had a different composition, my lungs would look different, right? If any million number of things were different in the environment, my body would look different. That's important. So, the reason, nice dog, the
Thank you.
reason that my hand looks the way it does is because evolution had who knows what millions of iterations to work on a design. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
trees always existed in the mammalian world. That's why we've adapted to trees, right? So the structure of my body is an adaptation to objects that always existed in the environment. The structure of my skeleton is an adaptation to gravity, which always existed in the environment, right? Humans, mammals specifically, have social relationships, right? So
Yes. Yeah, we are social creatures. Yes.
yes. So trees weren't the only things that always existed in the environment. Other mammals of my species always existed. So, in the same way that my body has adapted to trees, my body has adapted to other members of my species in the environment, right? So
Okay.
I have structures in my body that show themselves as experiences, subjective experiences that are adaptations that have formed over millions of years. And we have so much evidence for this. It's like, it's obvious, right? When you respond to an angry face a certain way, if you see an angry face 2 feet in front of you, you're going to have a physiological response, right?
Right. Like my social cue is that they are
Yeah,
upset at something, whether it's me
sure.
or something around them. Right.
So that's not taught to you. That's not socialized into you. That's something that you were born with, in the same way you're born with a skeleton, right?
Right. But like, yeah, but you're you're comparing like the normal when, there are people who might see an angry face and they don't know it's an angry face. They,
So
you
that's,
know,
it turns out that that's actually not true. There's
okay.
an interesting study that was done where they took people who were blind, where they had their optical nerve. They're blind in the way where the data still gets from their eyes to their brain, but they can't see. I don't remember what it's called. If you're blind where your optical nerve is cut somehow, that's like one kind of blindness. But if you're just blind because your retinas don't work, it's like a different kind of blindness. So they
Yeah.
can still see, but they don't process it. Like they can't see your face. If you take
Right.
somebody,
It's just blurry. Right. Or it's like there's no real image there, is what
yeah,
you're
I can't
saying.
remember what the line. Like they couldn't tell you what's in front of them. If you had a gun to their head, they couldn't tell you what's in front of them. Right? They have no idea.
Okay.
But if you
Yeah.
show them an angry face in front of them, they still have that physiological response, which is fascinating. It should be like fascinating. Like they can feel an angry face in front of them, and they will get the response, but they don't know why. They still have the subjective experience, right? So, what's interesting about that is that that's not taught to you. And if you observe your own life day to day and you observe the way humans behave, a lot of the things that you think and feel throughout the day aren't things. It gets hard because it's hard to disentangle the social layer because you are raised with norms. You know that, like, for one culture, showing you a hand like this is a bad thing, and like for flicking somebody off is a
Right.
bad thing,
And like
right?
and like us as humans, we want to be a part of that community where,
Yeah.
people can depend on us, we can depend on them, we're nice to each other. Like peace is a lot easier to deal with than war,
So
right? We want to take that path of least resistance, right?
the want that we do not choose. We want to be in a community. We do not choose that. We are born wanting to be in a community. That
We are social creatures, yes.
yes,
We need to
that
belong somewhere.
that want is an evolutionary adaptation.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because if you are a monkey and you're born not wanting to be in a community, you're going to die alone in the jungle, right?
Yeah,
So
if you can't get food for yourself, if you can't provide yourself
yeah,
shelter, especially when you had all the other monkeys come and help you, if you don't have another monkey come behind you and sort of, take all the fleas and ticks off of you and groom you and
exactly.
show you love and how to bathe and, you
Exactly.
know,
So all of these feelings subjectively inside of us are no different genetically from a genetic perspective than the shape of our skeleton.
yeah.
From a genomic perspective, it doesn't matter phylogenetically, right? If it's the shape of your hand or if it's the shape of your subjective experience in your head. So given that, yes, we are humans, we are intelligent, we have language and complex society. You're born with all of these subjective experiences in your body already, and then you get a social layer added on top of it. And humans are especially moldable. We're not blank slates. That's important.
Nope.
We're not blank slates, but we are the blankest slates. We are more moldable than any other species, it seems like.
We're creationists. We can make
Yeah.
anything we want. That's
But
our power as humans. We
it,
can make anything that we want.
it turns out that that's limited. We can make a lot, but there are still boundaries. And some of those boundaries, one boundary is my skeleton. I can't make myself 20 feet tall. And another boundary is the social experience, the subjective experience that we have built into us. So, like, I can't,
So you
yeah,
you might not be able to attach a bunch of bones inside of your body to be naturally 20 feet tall, but we can create things that would make you taller and could actually blend into where people probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
I guess.
If we did the clothing and everything right, and we're standing on these stilts that make us 20 feet tall, like we can do that. We can provide that illusion that it
Okay.
is real, right? But
Sure.
obviously, when you go down to it, our anatomy, we cannot just add bones to our legs to make us taller.
Yeah. You could.
That's just not a what is it, a viable option, right? Because just the anatomy of how our legs work, it wouldn't be feasible at whatsoever. You wouldn't be able to walk, right?
So you, yeah. And so you can take something like height, and you can say that there's, like, when you're born, your DNA kind of contains information about what your final height will be. And then
Right.
obviously, depending on your diet and your environment, that's going to be within a certain range, right? So like
And how
maybe,
old you are, you go through growth spurts and stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, when you're 2, you're going to be shorter than when you're 20.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
but
Of course.
but all I'm saying is that we have environment, we have choice over some of it, but there's boundaries. Like, you're not going to be 2 inches tall, and you're not going to be 2,000 feet tall, right? Like, those are impossible. You're going to be between
Unless I
four
guess
and
you're a little person, right? And you're like
yeah, but you're not
three
going to be
feet
two
tall.
inches tall.
You know?
Yeah.
No, no,
So,
we're not fairies and
yeah. So
little
like,
sprites, right? Like we're humans.
you can take the shortest person and the tallest person on Earth and say that those are our limits, and maybe you can go maybe a couple inches taller or shorter if you like try really hard or whatever.
The
Whatever
tallest
they
person yet and the
exactly,
shortest person yet,
exactly,
of
yeah.
course.
So those are physical boundaries that are given to us by our DNA, by God, by Darwin, whatever you want to call it, right? That we can't get out of. I mean, yet maybe who knows what people are going to be doing a century from now? We might have people making
Well,
themselves
our
30 feet
next step
tall.
in evolution is
Yeah.
assimilating with AI. I mean, that
So
really will be our next step.
so the point that I'm trying to make here is our bodies and our subjective experiences are shaped by things that existed in the environment for millions of years, right? And so one thing is trees, another thing is other species, other members of our species, right? Turns out other members of our species have existed in two forms, male and female. So males have always existed in our environment, females have always existed in our environment. Our evolutionary adaptations accounted for this the same way they accounted for trees. We have,
And we're not gonna count the exceptions either. Like people who are born with both and people who are born without, or
yeah.
it's debilitating and they can't use it or whatever.
Well,
We're not gonna
those
count those. We're
those have
counting the normal stuff, right?
no. You can count those. I'm sure those have always existed in the environment too. I'm sure there's an intersex monkey that
Yeah,
was
but
born a million years ago.
those are an exception. That's not the norm. Like you can't expect that to happen 90% of the time, right?
I. It's funny that doesn't it's not relevant in the sense that it actually is relevant because anything that shows up in the environment is relevant to evolution, right? If one monkey
Yeah.
gets born and it has golden skin, right, or whatever, right? Like that's
People are gonna be like, "Whoa! Like, what
yeah.
kind of recessive gene is there for that?" You know?
So throughout our evolutionary history, leading up to humanity, we've been adapting to our environment, right? And that includes members of our species, and that the members of our species are male and female. And it turns out that your relationship to members of your species alters your survival. So your capacity, however you deal with the environment, changes your, like, this is the evolutionary theory, right? Is that there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be traits that are built into you that make you more or less fit for survival. So if you have traits that are built in that make you better at survival, that's going to include traits that make you better at handling, dealing with, working with, cooperating, competing with members of your own species. You're always
Mm-hmm.
cooperating, competing with members of your own species. And then we can see this like in animals, in monkeys. If we go to any mammalian species, we can see a sexual structure that has formed, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what does that look like in chimpanzees, for example? I think everybody kind of understands the general, like, what's the mammalian sexual social structure?
The mammalian sexual social structure,
Yes.
that the males are competing to have mates, right? And to have babies and to pass on their genes, right?
Yes.
That's their competitive environment. Because in nature, I guess animals that don't have the same consciousness or sentience that we have, right? They're on a different league of their own. They're purely instinctual and they're just going by what their DNA inside of them is telling them, right? Because what else do they have, right? So what the DNA is telling them is that if I want to pass on my genes and continue my legacy, right, I need to compete and I need to win. And I need to be better than these other male monkeys because I want the pretty Labubu monkey because she's pretty and I think our genes would go great together, right? That's what I'm assuming is going on in their head, right? So, and yeah, in a comparable way to humans, right? Like, yeah, we are competitive in that sense, and men will try to, downplay or emasculate other men by being like, I make more money than you, I know more than you, I'm stronger than you, I can protect females better than you. So you are, sort of cast away into this corner with the other females who, you know, aren't as desirable, and then those two pair up and make kids, and they're happy, right?
Yes, I think you nailed it. So
Okay.
we have traits in us, like you said, like men, human men compete with each other for women, right?
Yeah.
And there's like obvious patterns we all see. Men are always
Gays do
trying
it too. Gays do it too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
don't think it's just the straight guys. Okay.
Men are always trying to one up each other. I mean, this is what we all see all the time. Men are competing, usually looking like idiots a lot of the times, right? But it is like I drive a cooler car,
It's
I have a
mostly a
bigger
pissing
house.
contest, right? It's a
Yeah,
pissing contest.
but that is not. So that is something we actually have in common with mammals, right? It's a
Yeah. What do you
common
think,
trait.
Wedge?
It's a common trait the same way that I have a skull in common with them or hands in common with them, right? So
Yeah.
that's not a social construct.
Well, we're treated as equals. So when, well, in the sense that we're human, right? Not socially, because men think they're better than women, right? That's the majority consensus. Like women are to be protected because they're weaker or whatever, or they're not as together or can be as stoic as men and just get shit done. You know what I mean? That's how I feel when I talk to other men. That's how they feel about women. Am I wrong in that at
Yeah,
all?
it's
Do you
just not what
feel
I'm talking about.
okay? I'm
What
sorry.
I'm trying to talk about is the fact that human society, our current social structures in the year 2026, has a lot in common with mammalian structures for millions of years.
Okay.
So a lot of the patterns that human men show are the same patterns that male chimpanzees show. And it'll be the same thing for female chimpanzees and female humans, women,
Hmm.
right? Human women have a lot of the same subjective experiences that female chimpanzees have. Because females had to evolve in an environment too, right? They evolve in an environment with other females and other males. So they're going to have. So basically, the way that this works is, and this is me trying to answer the what is a woman question, is that when people say gender is a social construct, what they think they're saying is that we are taught what a woman is. From the age of 0, we're brought up in a world to understand what a woman is.
Hmm.
And it turns out, I can't tell if you're listening. I see it's
I,
distracting me.
I am. I am. I
Okay.
am. I'm sorry. I'm right here. It's
It's
just
hard.
the
It's
uh
already
the,
so
the
hard
the
for me to.
background was different, but I
It's
got you.
so hard for me to stay to explain this because it's something that's not explained anywhere. Gender as a social construct has this implication that what we understand as a woman is a social layer. It turns out that a lot of what we understand as a woman is built into us through millions of years of evolution. That
It's
my
our instinct.
my yeah, we have instincts. My DNA has programmed into me what a woman is. I'm born knowing what a woman is to an extent. It's modified by the social layer, but what I understand as a woman, when I sit next to one, when I see one, when I think about one, or I whatever it is, when I sit here and conceptualize a woman in my head, part of that is a built-in genetic layer that I can't get out of. I can't even tell in my own head which part of it is socially programmed and which part of it is genetically built in. I can't tell. Nobody can. It's part of what makes this such
Right,
a
because even in our genetics, I mean, they might be, messed up, right? Like our instincts inside our head might be,
yeah.
like for some people, right? Like their brains just work like that. They don't
No.
view the world in that way. They just naturally don't see it that way. And, you know,
Well, so some of it, this is the same thing with height. There's a degree of flexibility in your height. Like your height is programmed into you when you're born, but there's a degree of flexibility at what your final height's going to be. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with women. It's programmed into you when you're born, and there's a degree of flexibility about what that means. We don't know what the boundaries are to that. So when somebody asks you, what is a woman? It's technically not possible to write that down. It is not, you cannot articulate that answer with speech. Part of the problem is that the concept itself, in a genetic sense, is older than language. Our word woman is relatively new in genetic history compared to the concept woman, right? And the concept exists in a chimpanzee's head. A chimpanzee has a concept of woman in its head. It doesn't have a
Right. Like a
word for it.
normal,
Yeah.
like a normal, like a natural, I guess, monkey, right? That just, like they don't have anything super inherently wrong with them. They're kind of on the same pace as other monkeys, right? That is what they naturally will believe, right? That's what they strive for. It's what their instincts tell them to do, is to mate with a woman, right?
Sure. Well, yeah, I feel like you
Have
are
you
misunderstanding what I'm
explored?
saying.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask you, like, have you explored other mammals that like just have sex for fun? It's not even
Yeah.
merely for their reproduction purposes.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to have sex. Bonobos are pretty freaky with it. A lot of
Well,
animals are gay. There's a
dolphins,
lot of gay
penguins,
stuff
right?
going on with animals too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
None of this is
and
me
like
saying
who?
that sex serves a singular purpose. All I'm saying is that the phrase gender is a social construct is wrong, is what I'm saying.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
because
biologically
we're
incorrect.
naturally inclined, right? That's why it's wrong.
Um, you can't take this too narrowly. The one of the issues is this is where it gets so freaky because
I'm open to hear it. I mean,
yeah, one of
we're
the
doing a good job right now. So
one of the things that we've been doing as mammals that mammals do is they there's sexual selection occurring. So females don't just fuck any male. Females will choose a male, right? And it's the same thing with
the
males.
one who they think will protect them will
What
be a good genetic pairing for their children or whatever, right?
whatever it is, whatever makes a chimpanzee's pussy wet,
Yeah.
to put it bluntly, is the monkey that she will reproduce with, and it's the same thing for a
And
male.
it's usually stemmed from an expression of dominance on the
Yeah,
other males,
for
right?
yeah, and
The alpha male, right? Like, of course, the pretty woman wants to get with the alpha male. She feels like she deserves it, right? And that's
yes,
why other women compete to be with the alpha monkey, right?
yes, and then a lot of animals have pretty much the same social structure, where you're going to have a small percentage of males. It differs by species. The social arrangement differs. Even within chimpanzees, you'll see different social arrangements within the same species. I'm not saying it's a hard and fast rule, but the alpha male concept is a rule that applies to pretty much all mammals. There's going to be a select number of males that reproduce with most of the females, right?
Okay.
That guides our evolutionary process. It has been guiding it for millions of years, right? So this is where it becomes so difficult to disentangle. This is not a shallow truth. This isn't just like how we're inclined. Our bodies are shaped like the males that the females reproduced with. Sexual selection is a way of evolution having an intelligence built into it, because it uses whatever intelligence the mammal has to choose the next generation. It's not just who can eat, it's who can attract a mate, right? It's not
Right.
just who's strongest, it's who can play the game correctly to attract a mate. And that adds a level of
It's not about
complexity.
just getting a paycheck anymore, like it was in the 20s and 40s, right? Like that was one way
No,
that like women saw
you're
men, is like, okay, can the man have a paycheck, right?
no, you're we're on two totally different pages here.
I was just trying to make a comparison. I'm not saying I'm not understanding what you're saying, because I am, and I'm just trying to just put it like in our terms as people, how we have changed and how that social scape has changed as men who compete for females, right? Because back
Okay,
then
let's
females weren't working. They were not working. They needed a
I know.
man to get a paycheck.
I don't see a big difference between the way we mate today versus the way we mate 1,000 years ago. Like to me, all of human history we've been mating the same way. Like, and I know what that sounds like. This is why I'm saying you're getting too narrowly focused. I'm an evolution guy. I'm a genetics guy. I look at everything from like a bird's eye view, right? Forget the way human culture has changed. Obviously, our mating practices have changed throughout the centuries, right? Obviously, there's social changes that have occurred that change the way we mate. Let's zoom out and take away the variations and look at the theme, right?
Okay.
There's a theme, and that theme has been constant across humanity, and it has been constant across chimpanzees and mammals as a whole. There's a constant theme about the way humans and mammals reproduce and mate with each other, okay? Look at this, for example. This is interesting. I'm sure you've seen nature documentaries. You've seen the little birds dancing, right? You've seen like how birds do those dances.
Yes.
You know what I
How
mean?
they communicate with dancing. I mean, bees do the same thing, but yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of species do it. Like birds are funny because they're especially colorful about it. But the arrangement, if you look at birds, is fascinating to me for a couple of reasons. One, we diverged from birds. I don't know what the number is. Hundreds of millions of years ago, right? In evolutionary history, right? Because you can look back to like where lizards turned into birds and then some branch went off into rats and mammals. You know what I'm talking about? Does that
Yeah.
sound familiar? Okay.
Yeah.
The way that birds reproduce is the females will like it's the same thing. Males are competing for females the same way that chimpanzees
Who
do.
can sing the best is one of the things for birds, right?
It's singing and dancing. It's kind of adorable. It's kind of cute, right? They set up their little stage, they do a little dance, and they flash their feathers around her. They sing, they make like bird sounds, and then the females will select.
Peacocks are the biggest ones for that, right?
Yeah.
Because they literally put up their whole fucking shit and they go up to other mammals, or
Yeah.
not mammals, males, my bad.
And
And
so
they'll try to put on a show for everybody to see, right?
yeah, and the male peacocks are the flashy ones.
Yes.
What's-
Yeah, which
What's
is funny enough.
fascinating about that? What's fascinating about this to me is that it's a social environment where the males have intent. They want to fuck. So they present
Yes.
themselves to a female and they do their dance, and then the female doesn't have intent, the female has judgment. The female decides, no, I don't like your song, I don't like your dance, we're not fucking. You don't get to go to the next generation, right? That's sexual selection. Their whole little mating culture, whatever you want to call it, is sexual selection.
Do you think that like their judgment would even kill them? Like if they never like decided to be with a male, that they'll just end up dying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If they're so judgmental that they never fuck, then they don't reproduce, and then evolution weeds them out. So like they have to
And,
say,
and they have their 9 cats in them in their house, right? Like,
and then you have to. Do you think birds have cat ladies? That's funny.
I mean, yeah, there's got to be people, or not people, but animals definitely ostracized from the flock or excommunicated, or
Yeah.
the other animals think that they're a threat, or like, hey, this peacock just fucking ate my babies. We need to get rid of this guy. Like.
Yeah, there's probably. I mean, it's funny. There's in the animal kingdom, there has to be like an equally diverse range of experiences per animal. There's probably lesbian birds that just never reproduce, and they just
There's
live and they
gay
just live.
penguins, there's gay dolphins. I mean, right? Like those are the mammals that like they sort of unlocked that shit in their mind to be like, oh, sex is like it just feels good. It's fun. I don't have to have babies to have,
Yeah.
to have fun having sex, right? Like,
Yes.
and other species, they have sex and they die immediately after. They'll have sex and then the female will rip off the male's head and like,
Yeah.
that's how that works,
Sucks
Thank
for
God
the
we're
guys.
not that. Yeah, right.
But-
Yeah.
So
Like the praying mantis, right? Like that's how that works.
regardless of the variations that can happen for whatever reason, whether it's a genetic anomaly, whether it's a designed thing, maybe evolution needs a certain, like, I kind of like the idea of like the gay uncle theory. I don't know if you've heard that like,
You can explain it for people who don't.
yeah, like maybe with mammals at least, there's a reason to have a certain percentage of the population be gay. Like it's like a useful member of the tribe, doesn't need to reproduce, but can still provide other roles, right? Like the overall,
Like especially in an overpopulated,
Yeah.
is what people think, right?
yes, like if you have a gay brother and you reproduce and your gay brother helps your family your whole family's genes still get passed on. So there's still like an evolutionary
Yeah,
reason.
your gay brother watches your kids
Yeah.
when you're off at work or whatever, and
Sure.
like you don't have the money or time to get a babysitter. Like, yeah, like of course that's just people sort of giving back to their society. They're
Yeah.
being functioning members of society by taking care of the babies who obviously don't know any better, and they'll die without this guidance and help.
Yes.
So
It's
there's a million contributions that we can do to society
yeah.
to help people and sort of push us along this path to peace, right?
All right.
So
But
like, um,
I just want to I want to continue down this bird thing real quick because if you look at the
yeah,
way
yeah, yeah,
birds reproduce, so have you ever been to like you ever been like salsa dancing or swing dancing or like
yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
like
God, yeah,
partner dancing, right? Like prom
of
kind of works this
course.
way, right? So if you look at the way like a prom setup works or like a high school dance or just swing dancing, right?
Funny enough, I went to prom with a girl, but she was like my friend who's a girl, not my
Okay, well,
girlfriend. But like she knew, nobody else did.
yeah.
She was basically my beard at the time because I wasn't out. So
Yeah, oh, high school fun times. But so what's interesting is if you look at a swing dance social environment, it's set up exactly the same way the bird mating ritual is set up, where like traditionally in a dance situation like this, the male has intent. The male goes up to a woman and says, "Will you dance with me?" And she has judgment. She says yes or no, right? And then that's where the whole social like
But
did
does that guy have to dance first in front of her, like on his own or with somebody else, for them to be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that guy's a good dancer. I should go dance with him"? Or is it a judgment based on their appearance or how they know them before prom? You know what I mean?
I think it's a judgment on everything. It's a judgment. It is what women are good at is detecting the vibes, right? If you walk up and you're like, "Hey, bitch, dance with me, bitch," right? Like maybe that'll work for
Get over
some
here,
women.
woman. It's like, whoa, dude. Like, what? Like,
Like,
okay, like you're kind of like commanding them instead of asking for consent, which of
yeah.
course isn't super sexy to women anymore, right? Like,
So what's interesting about the dance situation is that it's asymmetrical. Like men and women have different roles, but there's a fairness in the way, like, first of all, you're probably going to know me before I come up. I'm not just a stranger. But even if I am a stranger and I walk up to you, there's already 7,000 things she's judging. How am I dressed? What are my vibes? How am I walking? How do I
is this guy an
ask?
incel? Like,
Yeah.
all these things are flying through my head. But as we talk more,
Yeah.
those assumptions sort of like melt away. Like, especially when the conversation is going good and
Yeah.
you can actually have like a feasible, good faith conversation with somebody, it's becoming less and less prominent that this guy is a fucking deranged lunatic, you
Yes.
know?
Or it becomes more and more obvious that I am a deranged lunatic, right? Maybe I presented well up front
And
and
you're
then
and you're
she
just really, really
yeah.
smart and you're just manipulating me to think that you're safe, and
Yeah.
you're luring me in, right? Like,
And so
yeah, it could be a number of possibilities.
what's interesting about dancing too is that you go dance with a girl, you do a dance, right? Maybe you suck at dancing, you're too abusive or
Rip,
clumsy
dude,
or
rip.
like yeah, she's gonna go back. First of all, she's never gonna say yes again. So like that's
and
not
and
gonna
she's gonna go to her girlies and be like, "Have you
yeah.
guys seen Matt dance? That guy's a fucking loser."
Exactly. So and that creates in our sexual social environment, it creates a good balance where it's like there's like a meta game I need to be aware of, right? And then like even the
Oh
girls know it,
yeah.
right?
Oh my god.
So
And
yeah,
don't we just love to play games? That's
exactly.
just that's how we entertain ourselves. It's how it's sort of our little litmus test to see if you would even play along with our games. Like players. At least in good faith, players want other players. They don't want people who are unaware of the game
Yeah.
to be in there because in bad faith you don't want more players. You want people to be clueless and you want them to fall prey to your games that you're playing without them realizing it, right?
And then okay, yeah. Um, I'm trying to get to the end of this question here. What is a woman? Right. This is what I've been trying to answer this whole time.
And you've already admitted that like it's not something that we can just say in words,
Yeah,
right?
but so
It's a lot deeper than that.
here's an interesting question. If we ran the human experiment again, if we restarted civilization from the beginning, go back all the way to the beginning of humans, would the swing dance rooms still operate the same way?
Maybe not the exact dance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But it would be some form of ritual, right?
yes.
Because dances are essentially rituals, right? These are like, whether you guys want to call it a humiliation ritual, which I'm super against, by the way, or
No,
whatever.
who is
It's
calling it that?
I don't know. I mean, at least in Hollywood, right? Like if you have two dudes like kiss each other, but they're not actually gay in real life, or they have to wear a dress, that can be seen as a humiliation ritual that the elites like get happy seeing, and they'll reward you with fame and money and more airtime, right? That's sort of the conspiracy in Hollywood with how people become, super famous. They become in the spotlight for years to come. They're
Yes.
always included in the newest, biggest movies. They're always on talk shows. They're in commercials. Like,
But just to keep it on track here,
of course,
if we restarted the human experiment, there would be there would be dances. The dances would look different,
similar rituals. Yes,
but
right.
we can agree that they would create the same structure again, where it's the males, the men who go up to the women. The men have the intent, and the women have the judgment. That would present itself again over and over again across cultures, across time.
But how do you know that it wouldn't be the women who go up to men? I mean, what if there were more women than there were men?
It just so yeah. So it wouldn't be that way because humans have this is the same thing with height. There's variation that's allowed, but there's a minimum and a maximum. And our social structures have the same thing. There's going to be variation, but there's certain rules that are always going to apply. Men are always going to be men. Women are always going to be women, right? And we create these things, these social constructs. Swing dancing is a social construct. And there's a lot of freedom, like we have expression and choice within that. But the concept of people in an environment where men are approaching and women judge is not going to change, and that has been the same since birds. That's why I bring up the birds, is because we diverged from them 100 million years ago, and our social patterns are the same. And if you look at any mammalian species, it's the same pattern where it's like men trying to fuck, women selecting, right? And the reason that women select is because they're the ones that have to carry the burden of it, right? That's like a practical reason for that.
Right. And like for us, as I guess males, right, we get to pick which female that we want to fight over. Right.
Yeah,
That's our judgment coming into play, being like,
sure.
is this woman worth it for me to like give my paycheck, have share my house, my taxes,
Yeah.
everything, and be in my life like an integral part of my life, my partner, my companion, my number one, like that is us. We get to make that judgment. And like, and just like on both sides, there can be desperation there too when it doesn't work out. You're
Uh,
becoming older, you haven't been with a woman yet, so your standards change.
all I'm saying is that the answer to the question, what is a woman?
Hmm.
There is an answer, and the answer is not a woman is a person who identifies as a woman. That is an incorrect answer. And the
let me
answer,
let me
okay,
I was just going to say, like, is it more about their biology or their role? Is woman a biology or a role thing?
what do you mean a role? What does that mean?
So, like you said, like women in with birds, their role is to be judgmental and to judge the men, right? Like that's their role. But is it only determined that way because of their sex? Like because they have a vagina and the men have
Yeah,
penises? Like that is what that is, as opposed to like, as humans, when we can like take up a role or whatever, and we could end up being the women that are judgmental, like,
I don't think it's changeable. It's not escapable. This is built into our bodies in the same way our
okay.
skeletons are built in. I can't not have a skeleton, and I can't not be a male. And that comes with a role. I have to be a man. And it's interesting that turns into a moral judgment now, right? Because it's not just what is a man. The second you say you have to be a man, that comes with moral weight. There's things you
Do you
have
want
to
me? Do you
do.
want me to tell you why?
Why?
Well, because they feel it's an attack on their identity, which is why they have an issue with it, right?
Wait,
Where
who?
it's the person, I guess, that you're misgendering or not accepting as a woman or a man, right? Like it's less about like the biology and I guess the facts and or our instincts and shit like that. And they're on a separate level of just identity. It's like it's our identity that we have a problem that you have a problem with, right? Like I want to be called a female. If I said tomorrow I wanted to be a female, if you don't refer to me as female, don't be my friend,
Okay,
blah, blah,
but
blah. Like I'm going to ostracize everybody who doesn't agree with my beliefs, my thought process,
so
right? My identity.
then this is where we have to then okay, so I guess we've established what I think a woman is, at least, or how I would define a woman. I
Yeah.
mean, so my next thing here is that I personally don't want to lie. I think lying is immoral, and I would prefer to not lie, right? So I don't know. Does that seem crazy? Is that like
A little bit because you would be lying by saying that you don't lie, you know?
I'm not. I didn't say I
Everybody
don't lie.
lies.
I didn't say I don't lie. I didn't say that.
Or that you don't, well, I
I'm
guess it depends who you're lying to, right? If it's your enemy who you're trying to fool, would you feel bad lying to them?
Yes. I don't think lying is morally correct. I think it's a bad idea. I mean, where this is it's a funny situation. An enemy you're trying to fool. Are we playing like a poker game or something, or is
We're
this
at
like
war. We're at war, and I'm, you know,
then
I'm tapped into your comms,
yeah,
and I'm pretending to be a Russian,
then
and I'm
it's
telling all the other Russians that it's okay, this place is clear, and the other Russians move in, and they get fucking Trojan
so
horsed.
the
They
way
get
that
fucking ransacked. They get ganked by all the Americans that are sitting there.
the way that I see it is the reason the war is happening in the first place is because somebody told a lie. The lie is always the first thing that went wrong. Maybe in the past, when there was a meaningful conflict over limited resources, that made sense. But today, there, we shouldn't lie anymore. And I think that the lies are what lead us to war. We have enough resources to go around. Everybody can be fed. There's enough space for us all to live. We don't need to go to war on anything. The only thing that's causing wars is lies, fundamentally. That would be my stance there. And that if I'm in a war where lying becomes the right thing to do, it means that I did the wrong thing in the past. Like basically a sin that I've committed in the past has forced me into a situation where I only have wrong answers now. Where I can only
So,
say
like, is it a lie that has to be with malice, or is it a misconception that people go to war? People have this misconception about what they think is right or
yeah,
wrong.
I would say yes, it could be it's hard to distinguish between the two. I mean,
Well, like when I say in malice, it's like you knowingly know that this is a lie. Like you know what the actual truth is, but you're choosing to say the opposite to make another country or whatever look bad and to make yourself look good. That is in malice. You are intentionally trying to fool somebody with your lie,
they're both bad.
as opposed to a misconception where
Yeah.
you don't have malice, like you don't exactly know that it's a lie. These are the things that you believe to be true, but they aren't true. You come to find out it was a misconception. It
Yes.
was my bad. I thought that this was the truth, but in reality, it was not the truth. So, in a way, a misconception is a lie, but it's not a true lie that has malice, which is
Yes.
what I would separate the two.
I see what you're saying. One is intentional and one is accidental.
Yep.
Right? Okay. I, in this case, would not distinguish between the two in this context. I think they're both immoral. They're both wrong. You
Okay.
shouldn't. You should not. I mean, it's obviously it makes it hard to be moral. If I think 2 + 2 is 5, and I came to that conclusion, right?
Right.
You
Or
know,
God tells you that you should do these things
yeah,
and you do them, and other people say that it's wrong.
yeah. So I would say that somewhere you've been confused, you've lied to yourself, you've tricked yourself, or you've been tricked by something else. Like you've come to a wrong conclusion, and there's a lie somewhere. Somewhere there's things you believe or are saying that are not true. So any statement that is not true is a lie in this case, in this context, even if it's accidental. So if I say I think my car's parked outside, but somebody stole it, I've lied, even though I don't know it's stolen yet, right?
Right. That's like an objective reality kind of thing. Like
Sure.
if I said that the sun was going to come up tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? Is it a truth because it happens, or is it a lie because the sun explodes?
I would say if the sun exploded, you'd be a liar. So,
Only in that situational context that is outside of my control, by the way. I don't
yes,
control if the sun fucking explodes. These are
yes,
just my observations, the things that I've seen that other people around me have come to the same consensus, right? And
Yeah.
Even though that could be wrong, like when we all thought that the earth was the center of the universe, and like we just observed that we thought it was that way when really we were looking at it wrong. Like we looked at it wrong.
Yeah.
Like the stars is what told us like that we're not the center of the universe. The things that we can actually see now with our technology, and you know
So so I think telling the truth is the most important thing. The most
in
important thing.
in a good faith, true society, as somebody who wants to do better for their community, yes, telling the truth is always going to be the best thing.
Okay. And so that is where fundamentally this whole trans thing comes in, is that if I don't believe that a person is a woman, I won't say it. I won't lie. So,
But but that's just based on your observation. You're still in the realm of that the earth is the center of the universe, right? Like that's where you think you're lying by saying that it's not.
yeah, but we agreed on
Like
every.
you're no, we did, obviously, but I'm just saying like like it man, like I said, it is tricky, especially when it's just identity purposes. It's just
So,
like they have like this surface level thing, right? And when you go past that surface level, or on the surface you look like this, they don't want to go deeper. They don't want to, like, they're not going to be like me, who wants to talk to you like in voice or whatever and like have a discussion.
yeah, but
They're just going to have these presumptions about you because they read what you put on Twitter, and then that's it. They don't engage any further,
they
and they
do
just
go
label
deeper.
you as whatever.
They do go deeper.
Well, deeper to find dirt, not deeper to really get your perspective.
No,
Like,
no, no. I
I'm here
mean,
getting your
uh,
perspective. Like, I'm not here just shit talking you on Twitter, right?
I meant they go deeper, like they start injecting themselves with cross-sex hormones. That's what they do. That's deeper. It's not just a surface thing.
Oh.
It's not just a surface thing, right? Like this has moral implications. This lie. So,
Well, I mean, it's really hard to determine, right? I guess if it's a lie or not based on their human experience, their
yeah,
subjective
but
experience,
so
right?
you just heard what I just said about what a woman is, right?
Yes.
It's not just an objective. It's not just. It's wrong
In
to.
in nature, with mammals who are not on the same consciousness as us, yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah,
But
but
they
we.
don't have thoughts like we have thoughts.
Okay,
They
so
don't have a giant brain that isn't solved yet, by the way, that can answer all these things.
so you're gay, right?
Yes,
Okay.
at 100%.
You have a physiological reaction to men that you don't have with women, right?
Correct.
How do you know?
How do I know?
Yeah. How
Trial and error, my own subjective experience.
Okay. So what is that subjective experience coming from?
Where is it coming from? I guess just how I naturally feel. I mean, it's not because I watched TV or I saw a gay icon like Freddie Mercury or, Elton John, and I'm like, yeah, I need to be like them. It was never like that. It was more about what I just enjoyed naturally. It wasn't really like a super deep thought process.
Yeah.
It was more, the harder part was accepting it more
How
than it was knowing.
how does so you in a physical encounter with a man or a woman, right? Your
Hmm.
body is going to have physiological responses, right? That you would feel with a man that you won't feel with a woman, or vice versa, whoever it is, right?
Sure.
How does your body know that it's a man?
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, they present themselves as a male, and I'm not grabbing on their crotch at that moment to check if they have a penis, right? Like it's just they're masculine, male presenting. They're kind of the kind of dude who I'm into, and I talk to them, and then later they reveal that they have a vagina, and it obviously for me that kind of kills it, right?
So,
Like I don't know. Like
but
what do you mean? Like how would I know?
okay, so you don't control the physiological response. You don't choose that. That just happens to you. It's like your
Right.
consciousness is on a roller coaster. You mentioned how we have big brains, right?
Yeah.
Mainly our consciousness is just moving through the environment on a track. It's like a roller coaster, and there's physiological things being thrown into your spotlight of consciousness. So, in your environment, a male shows up that's going to trigger a certain physiological response that you didn't choose. You don't even have will over that. That just is thrown into you, right? You don't choose it. So, how did it get there? What causes that?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Because is it genetic or is it based on my environment?
Well, it is your
And
body. It's your body doing it.
yeah,
So
but
how
is
does
there like is there a gay gene? Is there
well,
like
forget about the
could
genes.
we
Forget about
well
that. How does your
that's the
body
instinct, that's the
Yeah, but
physiological like
how does your body know that a male is there instead of a female? Like you sense a person, right? You see a person with your eyes. How do you know physiologically? Because you don't choose the physiological response, right? That just
okay.
happens. How does that physiological response make a determination between sexes?
Their body language, the way they choose to appear, the way they smell, the way they talk, you know.
Smells a big
and
one.
and like I said, those are all assumptions. Those are just things that I think are normal, right? But that might not be normal in another person's world. You know what I mean? That's just what I think is should be normal. You know what I mean? That's my judgment, right? I mean, we like I said, we all judge. That's just how we get through life. We all play that role of judge at one point or another. We judge our friends, we judge our lovers. We're the most prejudiced when it comes to sex. Okay, that's kind of where you're allowed to be prejudiced. I'm allowed to only choose to have sex with a certain type of man or whatever, and that shouldn't be deemed as like either racist, transphobic, whatever. That's just what I like to be with, right? But
Yeah, I
to
just
say that I know 100% for sure just on the surface, there's no way to know. There's no I don't have like a genital scanner when I'm walking around and I'm like, yeah, oh beep, like, oh, this guy has a penis, like great, now I know. And now the physiological part is coming in me that I know for a fact that they have a penis, so I'm going to be more inclined to, I guess, get to know them
yeah.
and like on a sexual endeavor. We're talking about sexual endeavors. We're not talking about friends,
So
right?
if you get the
Like friends are friends, though they're not sex objects, right?
if you get the physiological response that it's a man, something you didn't choose, physiological response, and they identify as a woman.
How does that make me feel? Or how do I know? Or do I agree with how they are? Like what are you trying to say?
Well, what is that? Is your body responding to a man or a woman?
I think my eyes, my brain, and my body are reacting to their physical appearance, right? They are on the outside, and my brain likes to contextualize and put things in boxes. And when it starts checking off those boxes, other physiological things happen, right? Like I start to get those, hormones flooding through me to feel, sexually attracted, right? Because once my brain has contextualized that like these things are here, like I should move forward. I should try to get to know them. Like I need this to happen, right? But then it comes to find out that they're not a male, I guess, per se, with a penis, right? Which is what I was expecting. It goes against my expectation. The contextual boxes that are in my brain rearranged now, and it's not in that same sexual context anymore. I no longer feel that sexual response anymore once I come to learn that they don't have a penis because I don't like engaging with a vagina, just just as me taking the stance on being 100% gay. I'll only be with you, like your basis for me to have sex with you is having a penis, right?
So I just prefer to tell the truth about that stuff. I think is the problem. Um, I prefer that my language reflect my physiological subjective experience. If I feel that that's a woman, I want to say that that's a woman. And you can tell me that it's a man, and I'll say, but I see, I feel, I didn't even choose this. On the roller coaster of life, I have encountered a woman, right? You're telling me it's a man, but physiologically it's a woman, right? So it's like I would prefer to tell my truth in this case.
Right, like you feel that the way that they are presenting themselves are a female, and you believe before getting to know them, before asking or anything like that, your brain is already contextualizing like what this is supposed to be. Your instincts kick in, like,
Yeah.
do I make this a love interest or is this my friend or whatever? Like we make all these split second decisions just based on looking at them, right? And,
I would prefer to tell
you
the
know,
truth about that.
yeah, like I guess you could tell them like, hey, like I think you're really pretty. It's just unfortunate that, I don't want to
No,
engage sexually with you because you have a penis.
yeah, you're missing. I swear we're talking past each other here. It's kind of
No, 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 no,
frustrating.
no.
No,
No,
because what
I don't. I'm
I'm
not. I'm not trying to be that. I'm just want to
this
let
is
you know where.
this is the video. This is what I said that got me banned the second time. If I am in a room with somebody who is a transgender woman,
Hmm.
they identify as a woman, and they're not passing
Hmm.
for this story, right?
Okay, they're not passing. They
They're
look like a
not.
guy.
They look like a guy with a wig, right? They
Okay.
identify as a woman, right?
Okay.
My physiological experience of them is that of a man. I feel
Right.
like that's a man,
They
right?
sound like a man.
Yes.
They have the body type of a man, but they're wearing a crop top with a wig
Yeah.
and a skirt.
I
Right.
don't want to lie. I don't want to say that's a woman. I will gladly say that's a trans woman. That's a meaningful thing I can say. I'll say they want to go by she her, but I'm not going to say that's a woman. I will die on that hill. That's a hill I will die on. I think it's important to die on that hill. So, because these categories matter. And
Yeah, they matter, but is it a life and death? Is it
yes,
really?
yes.
I'm going to die for this?
Yeah, because here, how far are we in?
All because we're getting triggered by somebody
Well,
who wants to identify as a female when they're male presenting.
we're 2.5 hours in now.
Yes, sir.
Is
Yeah,
it
I mean,
time?
I do have dinner at 6, so
Okay, so we
we
got
don't have
30
all the time in
minutes.
the world,
All right.
and I still got to take Wedge out as
I
well.
would
So, but yeah,
rather
we'll end it at 6. It's fine. And if you do want to talk again, I'm more than happy to talk again if we didn't have enough time. You know what I
my
mean?
my
So
but
don't be too worried about it.
my belief is that the core of this it doesn't stem from transgender. So I said in the beginning that the core statement trans women are women. I think that this is a central
That's our core
concept.
ideology.
It's a central concept to the ideology, but the ideology is not about transgender.
So you're not trying to make it about the individual. You're making it more about the ideology.
Yeah, to me, this doesn't have anything to do with trans people at all. And it's interesting.
I've heard you say that a bunch of times.
It's interesting to me that all of my conflicts are just with people speaking on behalf of trans people. And then it's the same thing. So if you look at this flag, I'm sure you've seen the flag. I don't know if we even want to go into this because this is where I would do now sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think that the ideology is about trans people. I think that there's a larger system of ideas, and
You're saying it's more about control.
the trans thing is where the rubber meets the road. It's where the ideology finally touched reality, but there's like a layer, there's a social system of ideas that it has to do with four things. They're all present on the flag. Three of them are present on the flag, right? BLM, you've seen the flag. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
trans pride flag. There's the black and brown stripe, which represents racism. There's the pride flag in it, the rainbow flag. That's gay, LGBT.
And I'm pretty sure you have the bear colors in there too, which would be like my subculture, I guess.
What's the bear colors? Oh,
They're
like
the black, brown, and white, or black, brown, and orange, or something like that. Black, brown, orange, white. I mean, I don't. Yeah. It's a subculture. I don't know. They try to be too inclusive or whatever. Like
the
I understand that.
the ideology that I'm talking about. I identify as an offshoot of Marxism, which
Yeah,
sounds ridiculous. I
the
know it sounds
communist
ridiculous.
Marxist left. I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that what Marx wrote down in 1848 or whatever had to do with the economy, right? It had to do with capitalism. And this same ideological moveset has been transferred to a new concept: patriarchy, sexism, and then trans, right? Sex, sexism, gender, trans. It's the same. Patriarchy is the same as saying gender is a social construct. Those are two like things, right? So all of these ideas met reality when it came to transgender. When it started turning into people injecting themselves with cross-sex hormones, That's
Hmm.
where an ideological belief set finally touched reality in a meaningful way. And now we're talking about women in sports, men and women sports, whatever, right? Um,
Yeah, don't even get me started
but
because I don't even have a fucking. I don't think anybody really has an answer for that
so,
shit. I mean,
but the point is that what I feel like I'm contradicting doesn't have anything to do with trans. I think that it's a radical leftist belief set that did attempt. Basically, what we're seeing is the same thing that we saw in Russia in 1918. It's the same thing we saw in China in the 60s. It's a communist ideology that attempts to take power. It attempts a revolution. In Russia, it succeeded. In 22 countries, it has succeeded. In the US, it failed. It made an attempt. Maybe we're still in it, but that's the way these revolutions work. If you look back, they spend a decade or two building up like social bubbling until they bubble over and they actually overthrow the structure. And again, we saw that in China, we saw it in Russia, we saw it in 20 other countries. You can look up the list of successful communist revolutions. It failed to take over the US. It hasn't done that. There's enough assholes in the US like me and all the Matt Walshes and right wingers of the world, right? There's enough assholes here, and we have freedom of speech to protect us, right? So this
well,
ideology,
and the other core value in America is that we are that melting pot. We have so many different perspectives,
yeah,
backgrounds, and people
yeah,
that are here, and we coexist. That was one of the things that made America beautiful, was that we can have differences in
yes.
beliefs, ideologies, appearances, everything, and we can still be here and exist and survive together, right?
That is liberalism, the way I see it.
Okay.
That's how I identify as a liberal, right? This
Okay.
ideology I'm talking about is not liberal. It is not. They are called liberals. Somebody who supports trans rights will say they're a liberal. They are not liberals. Okay. This revolution failed to take over the United States of America, but it did succeed in taking over the Smash Bros. Melee community. It has, it has successfully.
That's a little more worldwide, right? Because you got people in Australia, Germany, Japan.
Yeah,
I mean, it's everywhere,
I
right?
don't.
That's melee.
Yes, it failed to take over the United States. It has taken over Melee, which is international, right? If you
Hmm.
contradict this ideology, you are banned. That's a fact. It won. It has won.
Because they feel like it's a threat to that,
So
sort of
that's,
inclusiveness, right?
yes, what you just did is use basically a jujitsu move. It's like a linguistic jujitsu move
Oh, okay.
that has been adapted to a feminist view of the world. The same thing was used in China and the same thing was used in Russia. This is the same social pattern where there's an ideology that takes over, it overthrows something, it claims to speak on behalf of certain groups of people, right? In Russia times, it was the proletariat versus the rich people, the capitalists, right? In China, it was old culture versus new culture. In our world, it's patriarchy, the oppressors, white men versus everybody else, trans versus cis, right? There's like this same narrative. We are speaking on behalf of trans people. We are protecting trans people.
We're both cock watchers, essentially.
That is a lie. I don't believe that that's true. They say they're protecting trans people, and maybe they believe it in their heads. But I am not a threat to trans people. What I am a threat to is this ideology I'm talking about. That's the thing, and that's why I chose to say these 5 words. It doesn't have anything to do with trans people. Trans women are not women is a true statement that this ideology cannot allow to exist. And that's why I said it. It's an act of protest. And I'm going to keep saying it until the melee scene changes leadership. The leadership needs to change to be more liberal. We need to protect speech. We need to be a melting pot like Melee used to be. Melee was a melting pot before this ideology took over. It took over with bans. That's important. It,
Yeah, but it's a difference between you disagree with an ideology and you're being provocative, and the way that they see it on a social level is that you are using trans as like a sort of like a target, I guess, for
they're using
you
trans
going
as a
against the
hammer to.
ideology.
They're using trans as a hammer to whack me in the head with. They use trans to take over this community. Like this ideology runs Melee. That's a fact. If you disagree with this ideology, you're out. You're out big time. There's no
I mean,
contradicting it.
look, we've made agreements on, like, trans people who go through the surgery and they regret it. It happens, right? It's not every trans, but it happens when they go through the top or the bottom surgery, right? It has a potential to happen, right? And a type 1, type 2 error, right? Being able to be, I guess, essentially that martyr that, like, listen, I will get banned and go against that ideology if it means that I get to protect my friend from doing a life altering surgery that will ultimately end up getting them killed because they'll want to kill themselves after they do it and they hate it, right? It's a lot of, like, hindsight's 2020, because you don't know exactly if that's the case every single time, and everybody's different. And like, I think people just want, especially trans people who feel like they don't have a community, and considering there is no real quote unquote leadership in both sides, like, who's the leader in the alt-right melee scene? Who is the leader for them to tell them, hey, like, we need to stop calling these people troons on Twitter if we want to be taken serious, if people want to hear our side of the story on, like, look, we don't really have a problem with you being trans, quote unquote, even though we're talking about
But
type 1, type 2 errors,
yeah,
right?
exactly. We do have a problem. People are
but
making
but
immoral
but then but
decisions.
then we do but then we do have a problem. Like, if you are trans, we have a problem. We're going to tell you that
Yeah,
we're
but
against
you
that
have a
morally.
problem
We think
too.
you're gonna.
You have
I
the
do.
same problem that I have. Yes. We already
What
agreed
and
on
what
this.
problem is that?
We agreed that being an alcoholic is bad. We have a problem with people being alcoholics, right?
Okay, to the point where it's going to kill them, right? It's not that every person who drinks alcohol is going to be
No.
an alcoholic
Look,
who suffers from alcoholism, right? Yeah,
I love
of
having a
course.
beer on
I'm
the weekends. That's great.
Of
There's a
course,
difference
of
between
course,
that and being
right?
an alcoholic, right?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
So
There's moderation in things, right?
we have agreed that we can call it a problem. We have also agreed that somebody who mistakenly diagnoses themselves or gets diagnosed mistakenly as trans, who then goes on to do the surgery, is making a mistake. That is a problem. We have a
Okay.
problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. We have a problem with that. That's important. Even people on the left have a problem with that. None of the stuff that I'm saying here, I don't have any special feelings towards trans people. I don't. Everybody says I'm on a quest to destroy them. I ran a tournament and invited them all, right? I
I
plan on
know,
running
but it's like
tournaments in the future.
you do one thing, but the thing that you say, especially when I'm like, the perception of reality is more real than the reality itself. Their perception of that is negative, and they're not going to give you
Yeah,
the time
but
of day
I'm
because
calling
of
I'm
that negative sentiment,
I'm
right?
calling them liars. Is what I'm doing because they say that they're concerned about mental health. For example, have you seen what happens to people that get banned? Have you seen that? Have you paid attention to that? It's not good.
Yeah, it is not good. And it's like, if we want to bring up hacks again, that was just one factor. Him getting banned was one. The other one is getting his patent taken from him. The other one is Leffen not getting fucking punished for any of the bullying that he did throughout the whole fucking situation. You know what I mean? Like, the people who really should have been taken to the side and being like, listen, your toxicity is not welcome here. The things that you say on stream and behind closed doors to these people, like bullying them, trashing them, all this shit, right? I mean, and it's kind of funny because, like, hacks calling Leffen a Hitler or a Nazi, that's like a left thing to do, isn't it? It's like leftists who call people Hitler and Nazis, and then it's the leftists that are also banning him for saying that Leffen is Hitler, right? Like, it's pretty contradictory.
Yeah, my point here is that they don't they this idea that they're protecting trans people, that they're protecting mental health and community stability is a lie. It's not true. They might believe it to an extent, but it's a lie
and they
because
and they and they think and they think they're doing their best, right? Like, they have that sentiment that they want to protect the trans people, and what they think, the misconception, as opposed to a lie, the misconception is that, like, we're doing the right thing by making sure that people who don't agree with, like, our ideology of, like, okay, you can be like whatever you identify as, right? If you go against that, you're challenging our beliefs, and instead of engaging with that, we would rather just ban you and not deal with it at all, especially when they view
okay.
melee as a privilege and that there's a bunch of other people that can easily take your spot, right?
But what?
Like you are disposable to them.
Okay, so okay, fucking. How many people do you think are banned? If you can name a number.
Right now, currently,
Yeah,
from what event?
Melee.
All like any and all event? Like, are we talking about just Genesis, Big House? Like, what are we talking about?
How many people have been banned from a event?
Lifetime or right now? Like,
Melee. In the
yeah,
past.
Melee, lifetime or right now?
Yeah, lifetime.
Lifetime? Oh man, I'd say maybe around 500 to 1,000 or more.
Yeah, it's probably in the thousands, right? It's probably up there. Okay.
Yeah, but how many people play Melee?
I don't know, 100,000, somewhere in there, 100,000 to a
More
million.
than that.
Yeah.
The Melee Online Discord gets brand new members who've never played Melee every single day. I
So
mean,
I would, yeah, maybe a million people play Melee tops. I don't know. Like
worldwide. Let's just say it, like, not even regional, just worldwide. Japan,
Okay.
Australia, everywhere.
So
a million people.
The numbers who are banned is probably in the thousands. Nobody has a count, right? The majority of those cases, if you dive into them, are very, very, very similar to Hax's case. Very similar in a lot of ways. There's a lot of parallels. Okay. It's not always the same reason that they're banned, but the fairness of it is very similar. I think we can agree Hax was treated unfairly.
Yes, and the TOs that made that decision were not in the right mind, and you know, there's a bunch of factors that went into this too, right?
Those same TOs are still TOs. The community has not changed since Hax died, right? The Hax situation is currently happening to hundreds or thousands of people. There are people who want to play the game, who are not allowed to play the game, and they are treated unfairly by the same TOs. And they experience...
But are they... Okay.
They experience the same thing Hax experienced. When Hax attempted suicide, do you know who wasn't surprised? Me. At all. I predicted he would attempt suicide.
Or Leffen, even.
The same thing has happened to almost all banned players. There's two responses. I mean, maybe three. People get banned, and they flip out. They get angry. That's what I do. If somebody calls me an asshole on Twitter, I call them an asshole right back. If somebody goes, we don't like you, Matt, I say, well, I don't like you either. Fuck you. I get angry. I respond with anger. That just compounds the ban. Then it becomes more evidence. See, obviously we should ban you, right? We kicked you out and you're upset. Obviously you're mentally unstable, right? That's what happens. Or they get sad and they attempt suicide, which happens to a lot of guys and women. There's a girl that was banned, tried to kill herself, right?
And I feel like the younger you are, which is the majority of the Melee scene, the more intense your emotions will be, and the more you think the world has come to an end if I get banned from playing Melee in person, right?
It's a problem. These people are treated unfairly. The system is unfair. It hasn't changed. It needs to change.
Right. And what, Moki should be a TO and like sort of kick all the other TOs out and be like, listen, you guys killed Hax. I'm fucking taking over. I'm the one who's going to be recruiting all the other TOs, and we're going to change the ideology.
Like, do you know what TOs listen to is player attendance? So here's how Hax could have gotten unbanned.
Money, right?
Yeah. Here's how we could have gotten Hax unbanned, right? We agree. We agreed already that Hax was being treated unfairly.
Absolutely.
Okay. In the year 2025, should Hax have been unbanned?
Yeah. What?
Okay. So we agreed
Hax should have been unbanned when he made countless fucking apology videos being like, hey, you know, Hax here. I just want to apologize. I'm really sorry for calling Leffen Hitler. You know, I don't really mean by those things. I've apologized to Leffen. We're all cool. What's even worse is that even after those apologies, Leffen never came out to those TOs to be like, hey, you should unban Hax. Like, what you guys did was wrong. And then Leffen just stops playing Melee altogether, and Hax is still banned. It makes no fucking sense.
It doesn't make sense. And one of the solutions, I'm not saying this is the only solution, but the top players, and I'm not blaming top players, and I'm not blaming only TOs, because I think they're the same crowd. It's like I said, there's a loose, like, who controls Melee? Nobody knows the answer. There's the social structure. Everybody has different levels of influence, it is not arguable that like HBox has influence over Melee. He's an influencer.
It's the alpha monkeys right now that
Well,
are in control, right? Not to call people monkeys, but back to our
it's
analogy of like who the women get to judge and be their mates, right?
it's
Like it's the alpha monkeys,
it's partially TOs, it's partially top players. They all have influence over the direction of things. So who banned
right?
hacks? It's not clear. We have people that signed a document. Why did they sign it? It's not clear who banned hacks, but one thing that could have been done to get him unbanned is Mango, Zane, and Cody, all three of them just saying, we're not going to any more events until hacks is unbanned. That would have solved it.
Yeah, and what was Cody's response right to that? Like in the DMs and all this shit, like
He didn't. None of them
you know.
did. None of them did
Oh yeah,
this.
we'll try. Oh, we'll
Yeah.
get around to it. Hey
If
man, hey hacks, you just need to shut the fuck up for 6 months, and I
if
can get you unbanned. It's like, what is that?
so, if the top 10 all said unanimously, we are not attending any events that Hacks is banned from, he would have been unbanned the same day.
Yeah, we ban on vibes in the community all the time. Why do you think wobbling is banned?
Okay.
That's a vibe based ban,
So
right?
the reason that we even got engaged in this conversation is because I said that Moki sits in a position to make a meaningful difference, and it turns out that that is true. He does. He could say, "I will not attend any events until Hacks is unbanned."
But can he like consistently convince the other top players to do the same thing, or are these other top players going to have a mind of their own and be like, well, I don't really agree with what you have to say, Moki. You're kind of on your own. So it's like Moki versus the world at that
Here's
point,
what's
right?
funny is that I could have a one-on-one conversation with Moki or any of the top 10, and they would agree with what you just said, which is that Hacks should have been unbanned. All of them agreed with that. I believe that nearly everybody agrees that Hacks should be unbanned.
Even bystanders who like aren't really in the
Yeah.
community probably feel the same
So
way. There's nothing that he really did.
why did he remain banned?
Why did he remain banned? I guess that's a question for the TOs, right? That signed that document.
It's the same thing with TOs. If you talk to any of them one-on-one, they would all say, yeah, he should be unbanned.
Okay, so then we actually have, some bad actors who are lying, if that's the case, because they signed that paperwork and they're like, I agree that hacks should be banned. But then you go and ask the same TO, hey, do you agree that hacks should have been banned? And they say no. They're clearly lying. I mean, people lie, right?
You want to hear a real conspiracy?
Yeah, what's up?
This system of ideas I'm talking about that took over the Melee scene, right? It holds power through bans. That's how it retains power. It gains and retains power with bans. If you contradict or oppose it, you will be banned one way or another. Look at A Rookie's case, for example. You know why A Rookie's banned?
I actually don't know A Rookie. I'm sorry.
Okay, he's a Mario player, top 100. His supposed reason in the common consensus is that he sent a inappropriate image to a girl, right, via a text message.
But do we know what actually happened, or is this just
Yes.
word of mouth?
No, I know what actually happened is that he was in a when they do Smash Summit and they're trying to campaign to get that slot in Smash Summit. He was in
to have their fans vote for them to get invited. Yeah.
He was in a Smash Summit campaigning, and he is a religious person, right? He is somebody that has beliefs that don't go along with this thing that I'm talking about, this ideology. And in the Smash Summit campaign, somebody just asked him directly, basically, do you think trans women are women? And he said no in a tweet. He said, I don't agree with that, right?
Okay.
He contradicted the ideology. Then the system, the cabal, whatever we're talking about here, found an accusation, right? Oh, you sent an inappropriate image to a girl. They ban him. They make it seem like it's some kind of sexual misconduct thing. What actually occurred is that he contradicted this belief set. And this has been true across most of the bans we see of all the top players. It's either that or it's just a basic Me Tooing that gets them canceled. But all I'm trying to say here is that the reason hacks remained banned is because the ideology that controls Melee relies on bans to retain its power. If they unban somebody like Hacks or like Zion or Mech or Shiz, what they're doing is breaking a seal. They're sort of saying, This guy can get unbanned. Okay, if it turns out Mech can get unbanned, why can't we unban Zion? Why can't we unban Hex? Why can't we unban, go down the list
Well,
of 1,000 people?
they haven't all done the exact same thing. Other players are more egregious than others. Can you agree on that?
Yes, but the common theme across many of them is contradicting this ideology that I'm talking about. It's why Shiz is banned. It's why Mech is banned. It's because they've contradicted this belief set that I'm talking about here. It's if you talk to a lot of these guys, they're what you would call based, right? They're like right wingers. They're like chuds. They're like, chuds, right? Yeah. Okay. That's an epithet that we use to describe people who are on the right wing. They haven't done anything wrong other than hold political views that don't go along with this radical leftist ideology I'm talking about. So my goal would be to take Melee and move it back to a more centrist, liberal position where it is a melting pot, where people with different views can play the game together. You don't have to believe a trans woman is a woman to play Melee. That's my vision of the future for Melee. Trans people, of course, can still play. I'm not going to misgender you in person. I don't need to like sit there and be like, you're not a woman.
And you wouldn't want to get misgendered either. You wouldn't want people saying that like, oh, you're not really a man. I think of you as a woman. Or I don't want to call you Matt. I want to call you douchebag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you can go ahead and say anything you want about me and hurt my feelings all day. I wouldn't kick you out of my tournament for it. Never.
Yeah.
Never. I'm a liberal. I believe in free speech. I believe in consent of the governed, right? I think that people should be able to say whatever they want about me and whatever leadership exists in the scene. You should be allowed to criticize the leaders. The current leaders are beyond criticism. I'm not allowed to say, I don't think that's a girl. That I literally can't say that and still be part of it.
Is that a criticism or is that more of like a personal attack? Like that, how is it perceived? The perception of reality.
You can call it,
how is that
it's perceived? The same. You can attack my identity all day. It
we
will
don't
hurt
want
my
to,
feelings.
Or not we, but at least I don't want to.
When I go to run an event, which I'm planning on doing, hopefully before the end of the year, I
hope it goes well. By the way, I hope you don't get Molotov or some crazy shit. Because
what's going to be interesting
that would set the whole scene on fire, literally.
What's going to be interesting is that the same rhetoric about me will continue to be said. People have said the worst things you can say about humans to me on the internet. I mean, I've had people say they hate me. I've had death threats. I've had people call my place of work and try to get me fired, right? Like I've had the whole
which is like another form of death, right? Because most of us live paycheck to paycheck. So to get fired, you're essentially dead.
I won't ban any of those people. They can attack my core beliefs, my identity, however they want. They can call me not a man. They can call me anything they want. They can attack my beliefs about God, about Darwin, science. They can attack literally anything.
What would you ban them on? Let me ask you that question.
Not words.
What would it take to be a banned?
Not words.
So not even if somebody was in there just calling everybody a faggot, like over and over, or a hard R or whatever, you know?
No bans for any of that stuff. No.
Okay, so like player conduct doesn't come into play with bans.
You can't do anything illegal.
When it's considered a privilege, right?
The law still applies.
Well, yeah, obviously not illegal. I mean, that like if somebody is physically assaulting people in there, clearly they have to get the fuck out. I mean, that's just zero tolerance. There's no middle ground there. I'm not allowed to go and punch a Nazi in the face at a Smash event, right? Just like how a Nazi's not allowed to punch a gay guy in the face, right?
What's funny is that I could punch a Nazi in the face today. I mean, I'm banned.
And the left would love you, of course.
Yeah, but I could literally punch somebody in the face and go attend a Melee event that afternoon. I can. If it's a Nazi,
even if everybody knew about it,
if it's a Nazi, sure, that's allowed in the Melee scene. I mean, come on, like you're allowed to say and do anything you want as long as you believe this leftist ideology. I mean, they finally banned one guy.
As long as you have that subjective ethic of like these are the bad guys and these are the good guys. You're only allowed to hurt the bad guys, whoever we deem to be the bad guys, right? Which and on everybody's radar should be pedophiles, Nazis, white supremacists, blacks. Like any kind of supremacy is bad, right?
The problem with the word Nazi is that for some people that's 50% of the country.
it's so diluted. It's not even like, if you want people to take you serious now, you cannot call people Nazis, even if they literally are neo Nazis in full cosplay. It, like, calling them a Nazi just at this point, it kind of invalidates your argument, because
Yeah.
you're not attacking it in good faith, or like you're just here to like dunk on somebody who has a misconception about the world,
It's the
right?
same thing as the word transphobe. Am I a transphobe? You know? I mean, all I'm saying is that I don't agree with a single statement. If I say trans women are not women, that's inherently transphobic.
After having this conversation, I don't think you would be considered a transphobe.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Unable Table said, you would even have more validation if you had trans friends. And some like, one thing I did want to talk to you about is like going up to a trans person to like try to be their friend just on the basis that they're trans, right? Like,
Yeah, that's
you
insane.
know, do you go up to a group of white men and you're
Yeah.
comfortable that they're white men, that you can,
What's up,
you'd have
homies?
a higher chance of relating with them, right? Like, is that not the same thing? Like,
Oh, I see what
oh,
you're saying.
I'm more comfortable with being with a white
No,
man, you
it's
know?
to me,
Why
it's
would you let them being trans even get into the conversation of if you're their friend or not? Because at the end of the day, they're your friend. They're not your sexual partner. They're not like somebody you're going to be living with, that you have to deal with their problems or anything like that. It's more, I have a strict definition on friends. They would be more like an acquaintance, somebody who I play games with, I guess, and somebody who we enjoy just playing games with. It doesn't really go further than that. Friends for me go further than that. These are the people who will be there for me when shit hits the fan, I'm broke, or I need fucking help, and this is my support team. You know what I mean? Like, my
yeah.
acquaintances are not my support team,
I
right?
yeah, I
It's
think
not on that deep level. It's more on the respect being a two-way street. I want to be called a man and be referred to as a man, and you want to be referred to as a woman, even though you present yourself as a man, right? That's your own fucking problem, right? Having yourself present yourself as a man, but you want to be called a girl, and you have people who don't agree with you call you a man, right? Like, that's just how, I guess, other people, randoms who aren't on your friends list or people you care about, are may or may not treat you. You have no idea. You come in contact with me, I'm not going to sit here and grill you about your gender identity. You want to be called a woman, fine. Like, me personally, I don't have a problem with that, because they are my, like, I guess, acquaintance, and I'm here for respect. You know what I mean? Just, even though I don't formally agree 100% to their extent on what they're trying to do, right? Even if my own personal belief was different, right? Like, it's more of a respect thing. And people want to be respected, especially when they're treated as outcasts by the normies, right? The people who make
so.
up
You don't think
the
I'm
majority
treated
of
as an
our world.
outcast? I've been treated like shit by the melee scene. It's been
Well,
horrible.
yeah, I guess nowadays the the alt right scene are considered a group of outcasts. I guess. I mean, it's sort of shifting and changing. You had leftists, gamers who are in their basement, like, as the outcast, and now that gaming has become more mainstream, it's devolved into other more niche things that are becoming the outcast now, or people, I guess, who are mistreated unfairly are the outcasts, right?
Yeah, I've been treated very unfairly by the melee scene. Extremely
I
unfairly.
I don't agree with like a statewide, nationwide ban on an ideology. I
Yeah.
will concede on that point with you, but for everybody else, if you want to keep this rhetoric of like trans women aren't women, I'm true to myself. I will die on this hill to not call you a woman. They might not be comfortable in their grassroots fucking party of inviting you into their living room to
That's
play
great.
Melee,
That's just wrong though. It's
because
just
it's
wrong.
not like like the Nintendo isn't backing it, sponsors aren't backing it. It's definitely like Cashbox is all community driven, right? Like,
Okay, but
those are viewers and fans who donate to raise the prize pool,
I
right?
just
It's not
I don't
necessarily.
I don't understand how we can sit here and agree that Hax was treated unfairly and he was banned and the scene should change to prevent that from happening in the future.
What was Hacks calling trans people like? Was he invalidating them on a personal level? Was he
He
going around on Twitter saying that
his
shit?
original video pointed at the same ideology that I've been pointing at.
But
He said
I
that
thought evidence.zip was more on the whole Leffen thing. It wasn't about.
he showed in that video how the Melee scene has become a totalitarian. It's ruled by a totalitarian structure. He said that. He didn't call Leffen Hitler, by the way. He never did
Well,
that. He used a Hitler quote. He did call Leffen Stalin. He did do that. So,
Hitler, Stalin. I mean, he
well, there's an
was
important difference between Hitler and Stalin. There's an important difference.
okay. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
they're both all right. So, the structure that Hacks identified is a real structure. He told the truth in his original video. He hammered in on Leffen, but the structure of the Melee scene, as he described it, is accurate. And what happened was, inaccurately describing the structure, it destroyed him, as he knew it would, as he predicted it would. It makes sense. He told the truth in his video, and then he got canceled the same way Stalin used to cancel people by erasing them out of images. I mean, if you've seen that thing on my Twitter where it's like Hax's nightclub and they changed it to the nightclub, that's
Yeah.
literally what
No. I mean
Stalin does. Yeah. So
that was a huge thing. That was a
Hax,
huge spit in Hax's face, right?
he correctly identified that Melee is ruled by totalitarian ideology. He said that correctly. That's what I'm saying. That's what a lot of people are saying. It is ruled by a system of ideas that is treating people unfairly. It continues to treat people unfairly. Every single day, hacks the situation times 1,000 in 1,000 people. Nothing is changing. Nothing. Nothing is changing. It's the same leaders. They're still banning people. Why? It needs to stop. It is immoral. I haven't done anything wrong. Mech didn't do anything wrong. Zion didn't do anything wrong. All these people are excluded unfairly the same way Hacks is excluded. And it needs to change right now. It needs to change today. And the reason that the Melee scene is dying is because of these leaders. It's the bad leadership. And there's this diffusion of responsibility. I blame Moki. Everybody goes, it's not Moki. I blame HFox. They go, it's not HFox. I blame a TO. They go, well, it's not up to him. He only runs this, this, and this, right? It's who is in charge? Who the fuck's in charge? So then you're like, it's clearly someone is in charge. Something or someone is in charge. And obviously, they all align with this leftist ideology. And so that's in protesting the structure that dominates the Melee scene, I protest the ideology. So I find the core concept, trans women are women. I find that that's false. I say I think that's false. Boom, I'm kicked out. So and I don't know what the conclusion is here, other than I'm going to run my own event and change things. That's like my goal. It's the only thing I can do.
At the beginning, before we even have this discussion, one of the I guess the main thing for me was just like, how are you as a TO that wants to promote community is going to do that by invalidating trans people by having the statements that you make, right? Like that was kind of my big thing that I wanted to ask you. You know what I mean? But
have you ever had somebody say something about you that was wrong? Obviously.
Yeah, like a rumor or something, of course.
Okay, so
or like,
can you not be physically in the same room as them? You physically can't appear in the same room? I mean, at some point, these people need to grow up. They need to grow up and learn that the whole world is not going to go along with them. It is on them to grow up. I'm allowed to be in the room with them. That's a fact. Deal with it. Fucking grow up. You don't get to control who's in the room. My whole stance here is that they can play the game. I want them in the room playing the game. I want them in the community. I don't want them to control who else gets to play the game. Not everybody has to go along with them. Melee's bigger than trans. Okay?
Of course. Yeah. And it's like you want to talk about the growth. You know, how do you go about the growth if everybody's unbanned? You know, you have racists and homophobes and you know, people who aren't that in the same room together, hanging out, doing whatever.
Melee's the bridge.
And you know, I'm just trying to think of like how that would coexist in a world where I truly believe that it is a privilege, even though that you get unfairly banned. I understand this. I understand that the basis of why people get banned is unfair. Okay, I get that. It's based on ideology. It's like if the TOs right now banned me from their events that I've never been to, by the way, just on the basis that I'm having this conversation with you right now, that would be extremely fucked up. I don't think it needs to get to that point for me to switch sides. You know what I mean? Or to be like, yeah, you know, this is extremely fucked up. I think the TOs, what they're doing are fucked up.
I gotta point
out. And if they're not owning up to it, it is ruining the situation, of course.
I just got to point out that the thing you just described, racists at a Melee event playing Melee with black people or something, right?
Mhm.
They have a word for that. It's called liberalism. That's like the liberal ideal. Is Melee is the liberal bridge. It is the common ground on
But
which somebody
but
who's racist and black can play Melee together.
they get heated, and then the racist calls the black dude the hard R, like right next to him as they're playing the game. What do you expect to happen? Like the black guy just tanks it, or does he call him a cracker or something? Like what happens?
That's a good question. I don't expect that to happen, first of all, because it
You're more likely for that to happen if you knowingly
no.
already know that they're racist, they don't like black people, and they're mad that a black person is beating them in a video game that they've spent a lot of time practicing, and they're like, "Oh, this guy is cheap. He's playing Peach against my Falco. He's just down smashing. He's a fucking loser bitch. You know,
I
he's the hard R."
I think counterintuitively this is how you end racism. Is that you have white people and black people play Melee together. Somebody who's racist and thinks that he's better than black people plays Melee and loses to a black person, his views have been challenged in a meaningful way. He will now reconsider his views at some point, maybe not immediately, but that's going to digest in his head, right?
I
This is
mean, does
like,
it have to change after the black guy beats him up for saying the hard R to him
well, beating
in
people
his
up
face?
is illegal. Then the
Of
law would have to get
course.
involved, right? So
But that's sort of the cause and effect, right? I mean, you don't respect them, and they'll take it to a new level. I mean, and this can happen on both sides, right?
I
And
just don't
it
expect
all
that to
just
happen.
depends on who you are.
If I get my way and I run a successful event, I'm going to have people there that you would call racist, that a lot of people would call racist. And if I get my
If they
dream,
identify themselves as
no,
racist,
no,
you know what
no,
I mean?
no, 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 that people would call racist, or maybe they identify as racist. But my vision is one where people who are racist play in the same room as people who are not their race, right? When we coexist peacefully. That is a liberal melting pot vision of Melee. That's what Melee used to
That
be.
everybody can sign this invisible social contract that neither side will be prejudiced, racist, or
No, you're
whatever to
allowed
each
to
other.
be
They
racist. You're allowed to be racist. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, racism is a mindset, discrimination is a practice, right? Those two terms are not interchangeable, right?
Okay.
So, you know, I guess saying the hard R to somebody would be a form of discrimination. It's not necessarily racism, it's more discrimination. I'm discriminating against you based on your race, and I'm calling you this slur to get a negative, aggressive reaction out of you. I am trying to make you upset because what you've done to me in the game has made me upset,
Yeah, I think that makes you an asshole. Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll agree with you there that like yeah I guess you can have a racist there with the racist mindset that they think that black people are inferior to them and that they're better than they are, but it's until they discriminate is when it becomes a problem, right? But are non-racist, not like people who don't think that way, are they really like are they more likely to discriminate than the racist who does think that way?
I mean, I have found people that claim to not be racist to be extremely racist in reality. I just got called
Well, yeah,
a
because
white dog on Twitter 2 days ago.
racism isn't a 0 to 1. It's not an on and off switch. It's more like a dial,
Yeah.
and it's like hunger, right? Like you're not hungry right now,
Either way,
but as Shane Gillis puts it, if a cheeseburger cuts you off in traffic,
that's a good reference.
right? You know what I mean? Like
the,
I resonate with that. That
the
makes a lot more sense to me.
the main point I'm trying to make is that somebody who identifies as trans can physically be in a room with me. There's no thing stopping them.
No,
Nothing.
and I think I can be in a room with, you know, I guess a white I mean, I guess the white supremacist would be happy with me because
Yeah.
I'm white, right? But if there was some like a dark or a negative version of me who goes against what I think, right? Let's just to say hypothetically, like
Nigga boon.
yeah, right, yeah, Nick Boone. But anyway,
Yeah.
if that were to happen, right? Like, yeah, I mean, as long as we're on that respectful social contract to just play the game together and we talk shit about each other about the game, not about our race, not about who we fuck, right? Like, not on the basis of that, but just how we play the game, like that is 100% okay. And even on that level, people can't even keep it in the game because anytime you get into conflict with people, even when it's about the game, they take it out of character. They take it out of the game and they make it a personal attack instead.
So
You know what I mean?
it
It's
sounds
it's
like
never it's never on that same level unless you're a frenemy and you guys were friends beforehand and you guys are talking shit to each other. Then you both know in your heart of hearts that this guy is not here to, end me or do
so.
this bad thing to me. It's just shit talking.
It sounds like you agree that I should be allowed in events.
More than likely, yeah, especially since you haven't
Mm-hmm.
discriminated in physical person. You have this mindset, but you don't discriminate, right?
Yes.
There's a big difference, right?
So I am being
And
treated
a lot of
unfairly
people
by the
a
people.
lot of people are going to take that trans women aren't women as discrimination. They're going to take that as discrimination.
Okay, but
They will see that as a personal attack. That's all
so
I'm telling you,
but they
right?
are
Like
wrong. But
whether I agree with it or not, that's just how it's going to be perceived.
but if they're going to make determinations about who's allowed at events using that, they are wrong morally. They are morally wrong, and I think you've agreed with that now. It sounds like
I mean, if they're,
so.
I agree and I don't agree at the same time. It's weird because, like I keep saying, this is a grassroots thing. People are inviting you into their living room. You are being invited. Being invited is a form of a privilege. I do not hold the keys to your house. I do not have the right to barge into your house
Yeah, but
uninvited
this is
and
different.
force myself to play Melee with you.
This is different. It's a public
Well,
event hosted in a public space, not in a living
Well,
room.
it's not a government public event. It's not like any citizen is allowed to be here like lawfully. You know what I mean? This is a private
Well,
event at the end of
this
the
is where it
day,
gets
and this
tricky.
is a venue,
Yeah,
right? That
it does
it's a
happen.
private establishment, a private platform that you are invited to be at. Nobody is saying that you can't go on Slippy Online and play ranked till your fucking thumbs fall off.
Yeah.
And like, even though you're banned from every in-person event, you know what I mean? Because events are a privilege. You do get invited. Just on that definition, that basis alone, they are private events. I understand you don't see it that way because as a community, we should have a right to go and play our favorite video game in person and compete. Everybody wants to compete. Nobody wants to get banned from the Olympics, right? Like the biggest sporting event ever,
Yeah,
just on the basis of their fucking social media. Of course not.
we
That's
have
why people are so scared to fucking say shit on social media because they don't want to ruin their chances over something so stupid that they would rather just like, listen, I will concede here. I just won't say that. And then I get to compete and go have fun and do the thing I truly want to do, right? Like, I'm not going to throw a League of Legends game because my support's a dickhead, right? I came in here because I wanted to win. I came on the basis I wanted to win and gain LP. I'm not going to throw that away from myself and the other 3 people in my game because I have personal vendetta against my support who I don't agree with. You know what I mean? I don't want to shoot myself in the foot to get in the way of my goal of achieving, like, you know, maybe like a 3/5 compromise in a way. You don't have to fully agree, but you sort of like breadcrumb your way to get them to sort of agree and to just have like this little mesh here. You know what I mean? It's a 3/5 compromise. It's the small steps that you take rather than looking at the giant staircase and being like, fuck that shit, instead of just taking it one step at a time.
yeah.
One step at a time right now would just like, listen, I don't want the trans ideology to control me, to dictate me or whatever. So why don't I just play into their games, just say what I guess needs to be said for people to, start listening to me.
No,
And then later down the road, we can kind of,
no.
now that I have power and all this stuff now, maybe people are more inclined to listen to me. I have an influence now.
You can't
I
change
have
it.
that power to control the perception. Why don't we have the power to control the perception?
You can't change it from within the system. So it's the same reason Moki doesn't have a choice. So these guys are trapped. All these top players are trapped by this. If any single one of them steps out and speaks, they're going to be banned. If only Moki came out and said, hey, I disagree with this whole thing, they're going to find a way to ban him.
Right, but if Salt comes out and says Zion should kill himself, it's fine, and she'll say it on stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
those
an
are things
asshole.
I don't. Those are things I don't agree with either.
Yeah.
But like you purposely calling Salt he just to be provocative and just to be like, I don't agree with you. You know what I mean? It doesn't make them want to engage. You're sort of forcing yourself instead of presenting yourself as like this, you're presenting yourself as a thing that like entices them to want to be a part of you. You know what I mean?
I'm not
You're
gonna
you're taking
lie.
the forceful route. You're taking the forceful route instead of presenting yourself as like a, like as like prey in a way, like to force them to engage with you, right? In a way. But instead of you going up to them and like grabbing them by the wrist and be like, you need to play me in melee right now, instead you take a different approach and you make them want to play melee with you. And then,
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna
It's
run my own
there's a
event. Is what I'm gonna do.
right, of
And then
course.
I'm just
And
gonna
and more
invite
and more
Salt.
power to you.
I'm gonna say
I don't I
Salta.
don't think you running an event is wrong. I don't think
Yeah.
you having the mindset, I guess, is technically wrong, especially when we have different viewpoints. I can understand if a white man who, got married to a white woman, they have sex, they have a kid, and the kid turns out to be black. And that white male now has a resentment towards black men because he's been traumatized thinking that he had trust in these people and now he doesn't. And it's just like, how would you fix that? How do you go about fixing that perspective? You know what I mean? That guy is traumatized for life. For life.
I don't know. Yeah.
Whether he wants to or not, he will always think about it like that. And like you said, these people are sort of trapped in that ideology, I guess. They've been burned before. They see how it burns other people. So if they want to continue to keep playing, which is their goal, by the way, their goal at the end of the day is to keep playing melee, keep making money, have viewers, sort of keep expanding the scene. They think that's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
right? But that is the misconception. It's not a lie. It is the misconception
They
that
will.
they think this is the right thing to do because the ultimate goal is to just play the game with other people and to show the world how cool melee is, right?
They will
That is their
all.
ultimate goal.
They will all make more money, and the scene will grow if we change the way the scene runs, the leadership. If we make it more liberal, the scene will grow. If we allow transphobes into the scene, I promise you, all of the top players will make more money in the long term. We have to change the leadership. Hbox and
Yeah,
Cody
I'm
will
I'm
make
I'm
more
with you. The
money.
more people that are in the community, the more money. The more
And this isn't just
I mean,
about banning
there's so much
people.
money out there. You know what I mean?
This isn't just about the people that are banned, right? I'm not just saying, oh, add 1,000 people and we grow. I'm saying the culture will change. And instead of being this leftist social club, which is actually very repulsive to a lot of people, the
Mhm.
scene will become more attractive. A more liberal melting pot is more attractive to more people. Right now, the melee scene is not attractive to most people. Unless you're a trans communist, it's not attractive to you. If you're a fairly normal member of society on planet Earth, the melee scene is not attractive to you. You go there, you see an event, you see a stream, you see stuff that doesn't feel right, right? And that's
I see
because
Nairo getting unbanned. I see Zero getting unbanned. You know what I mean?
that would
And
be
those guys have committed sexual acts on children. Do I agree with that?
uh,
Oh, unban all players. Oh,
we need to
pedophiles? Nah.
we need to strongly reconsider all of the bans. The scene has been ban heavy for a long time because of this ideology that needs bans to retain power. So it has been over banning, way over banning, and it hammers
Okay.
down these
I
bans.
can I can agree with you on the over
Yeah.
banning part.
And so
Not saying that there shouldn't be any players
yeah.
not banned,
And if
because
we
some players do deserve to be banned. Do you agree on that?
yeah, if you a
Some players
pedophile,
do deserve to
if
be
you're a
banned.
pedophile, yes.
Some
Okay.
players, okay?
Okay.
If you
But
think it's pedophiles, that's some players, right? Some players are pedophiles.
by taking away bans, what we do is we inherently change the leadership structure. The leadership structure relies on bans because it is this ideology that needs bans to retain power. So take away bans, the structure changes. Structure changes, leadership changes, culture changes. The vibes change. The scene becomes liberal for once. Freedom of speech, freedom of culture, beliefs, becomes a melting pot, becomes more attractive to people, grows, makes money. Cody can finally stop complaining about not making money because he will make money.
So public super majors and places where there's like a lot of money involved and a bunch of competitors involved, that should be almost no ban unless, of
Yes.
course, pedophile, sexual assault, you're an arsonist or some crazy shit. You do physical acts of violence, right?
Yes.
Those should have the most minimal amount of bans because you need the most amount of people to sort of make, a name for themselves and be out in the public. And then on the other hand, the private events, like example, Boon's birthday melee bash, you know what I mean? Like my personal friends and people who I'm cool with, right? I should be able to ban whoever the fuck I want to because it's my event
Uh,
and it's my living room, right?
if it's in your
Like that's a
living room, yes.
private event. Well, a venue or whatever. I
If
mean,
it's an event that you've posted on a public website like Facebook or something, then that's a public event. So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but like all I'm saying when I'm making that announcement is that I'm having this thing, and on the pamphlet, it's like this is invite only. Check your DMs to see if you got
Okay, so that's a
invited.
different thing though. Then it's not. Then you
But
haven't posted it on a Facebook page.
that's my difference. I'm saying that's the common ground. The common
Yeah, but
ground is that the big public super majors that should have the least amount of bans possible, right?
weeklies aren't like that. Like a weekly local is posted on public places. Like the one that I was just banned from, they have a thing on their
Weekly
bulletin board.
locals would be considered public events, I guess,
Yes,
for these
yeah,
people.
and
Right? They're not advertising as this is a private invite only event.
yes, and yet I am restricted from attending. So, and that is killing the scene.
Not that I agree with that.
That is killing the scene.
Stopping people from playing the game does kill it. Yes, I will agree.
And it creates a
Stopping the people
culture
from
that is
playing it.
unattractive to more people. People like me don't want to be involved with Melee.
Or people on the fence. People on the fence. Even.
I
you
can't.
need to think about it like the left has like wronged these people, so they go to the right and they become these alt-right chud, chopped incels. You know what I mean? Like that is a real time, real life example. Is that people get ostracized by the left, who they thought that was their community, but they get turned down by them and they go to another community because we're social creatures. We need to have that.
Yeah.
Wow, I just got really blue. Holy
I think
shit.
I would like a Melee scene where I could show my parents the stream and have them not be like, what the fuck is this? Right? You know what I mean? Like it needs to be more less repulsive would be a good word, more attractive to a wider range of people. Right now it is extremely narrow. It's only attractive to people that are very, very far left. Really, it's extremely
or you're just like a diehard competitor like I am. I never saw it as like, oh, this is a safe haven for gay people. I'm gonna participate in this community now. It was more like my friends wanted to play Melee. We loved Ultimate, and now we want to play Melee.
You'll notice that the ones who are diehard competitors who don't care about politics get pushed out as well. They get pushed out. Yeah, like Mewtwo King is experiencing this current thing. I would say that he's like the definition of an apolitical Melee obsessed nerd, right? All he cares about is Melee.
That gets shit on because he's trying to make money. Like that's the crazy part. He's never done anything wrong to anybody per se, other than appear cringy, weird, and quote unquote money hungry. When all he's trying to do is make a living off of it, which shouldn't be seen as a bad thing, especially as a top player who has a lot going for him in terms of coaching, hosting events, being a personality. It's not about being the number one all the time, especially in competitive scenes like this. Like he's given to the community so much, He's had his editor fucking take down all of his YouTube videos and shit, like doing really heinous, awful things, and he's still fucking here. He's still here.
It's the same system of ideas, the same people that banned hacks, treated everybody else unfairly. It's the same leadership. It's the same ideology that controls all of it. That's why I keep saying trans women are not women, because I oppose that structure. I
agree with your sentiment. I don't agree with your plan of attack. That's all. Your plan of attack stuck at. Okay?
That's a good spot to finally end this.
That is a good spot. Listen. I'm more than happy to do this again if you want to keep talking more about other stuff or
Yeah.
whatever the case is. I mean, I'm 30 minutes past my date, so
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean
that's
to
okay.
hold you over
That's
here.
okay.
So
I had a great time. I didn't feel like
nice.
this was super confrontational or anything weird.
Yeah.
You know, we refrained from calling each other names and delving into degeneracy, which
Yeah.
all I can ask for, which is super nice, you know, as opposed to the people who I try to talk to on Twitter about this, disregard my opinion or whatever, block me. I trust me, I've been on the same side. It's happened to me too. You know, even though I'm on the side of like trans people should just be respected, and if you want to be called a woman, it's fine. Like that's my perspective, right? And even that gets fucking hated on, you know. So
Yeah.
listen,
Well.
I get it. I understand it. I think the bans are stupid. That's our common ground. The bans are stupid. Okay.
Hell yeah.
The
Yeah.
bans are not the way you solve the problem,
Yes.
right? Especially when there isn't that leadership and you guys who are banned can just go and make your own shit. I mean, how many venues and stuff do they know about or can call and say all this shit
Yeah.
or like, I guess, protest, call in bomb threats? And at that point, it's even bigger than what the fuck we're talking about. And it takes legal action. You know what I mean? Like, haven't seen that yet, but it might get to that point. You never know. The alt right, the people who are banned, they're going to do that. They're going to host their own events. They're going to have their own people. They're going to say everybody's invited and allowed to come, but those people who are on the left probably don't feel welcome. They don't feel like they belong there. You know, they're just going to go there, get made fun of, get called a faggot, whatever, and nobody's going to sit there and quote unquote save them. They're kind of on their own, you know, and then here they are feeling ostracized again in a social environment, you know. So like
Yep.
it's hard to get on both sides when you can't make both sides happy. You can't give one side 100% and the other side zero. You can't, you know. I like my personal opinion. I think the right just needs to, especially if they claim to be as intelligent as they are, they either need to come up with a new plan of attack or just fucking drop it. If your ultimate goal is just to play melee, just fucking drop it, man. Like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's super complicated. People look at your social media, they get the conception, their perception. You know, it's fucked. It's completely fucked. I agree with you there. It's fucked.
All
But
right.
our plans of attack need to change. Anyway, thank you, Matt, so
Thanks for
much.
talking. Yes.
Yeah, no problem. So just hit me up whenever.
Have an
All right.
excellent night. What? How do you want your tag spelled on this video? Want to do the? Is it just Boon?
You can either do my Twitter, which is at Boon on you, or you can do my YouTube, which is at Boono.
Okay, I'll
Either
put
one
it in the
works. But
description and stuff. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
if you want to just put my Twitter at in there or the YouTube, whatever. Those are my two main things. I don't do Instagram or anything else. So
All right. Have a
all
good
right.
night. Thanks for talking.
See ya.
Peace.
Bye.
All right.